Imperial year 497, and yours truly finally got off his butt and left Rosa City. 12 years I've been stuck in this body, pretending to be the useless third son of the Milan family, and honestly, the role fit a little too well. Let me paint the picture. My oldest brother? Military genius working as an advisor for the Imperial Army. Second brother? Rising star under the Imperial Finance Minister. Me? The guy who invented coffee and then spent a decade being called a disappointment. You're welcome for your morning beverage, entire empire. So I decided it was time to stop being the family pet and actually do something. I got assigned a city called Herda up in the northern frontier, basically the empire's junk drawer. Nobody wanted it. Perfect for me. But first I needed paperwork, because even in a medieval fantasy world, bureaucracy is the final boss. I walked into the noble assembly, found this month's duty officer, Baron Gran, and watched this man sip coffee from a fancy cup with his pinky out like he was posing for a portrait. One word, classy. The guy was practically a painting of himself. I handed him a gift box of premium coffee beans and called him Uncle Gran. His smile got wider with every gram he felt in that box. Bribery? No. Cultural exchange. Networking. Relationship building. Paperwork secured. Now rewind to a week earlier. The conversation with Dad that made this whole thing possible. My father, Count Wright, is basically a brick wall and a tailcoat. I walked into his study for the first time ever. The man so intimidating I'd avoided his own room for 12 years, and told him I wanted to go north and pioneer new territory. His response? No, cool. So I pulled out my secret weapon, geopolitics. I started listing everything wrong with the empire like I was reading a grocery list of doom. The Cis Empire swallowed the Volan Kingdom. Sark cavalry riding under enemy banners. Noble families backstabbing each other. The Tartan family taxing peasants at 10 times the imperial rate. The Arish family literally selling weapons to the enemy. Southern nobles forming alliances against the Big Four families. Oh, and the Eagle Knights? 30 years ago, 20,000 cavalry, 500 knights, 30 grand knights, for titled knights including Grandpa. Now, same cavalry, barely enough regular knights, only 13 grand knights, and just 2 titled knights left. Dad hit me with, the Eagle Knights are still the strongest order outside the Imperial Legion, and I said, not enough. I'm going north to build Eagle Knights 2.0. Dad tried the emotional angle. I already lost your mother. I don't want to lose you too. Just stay here and live a quiet life. Oh yeah, that. 10 years ago, Dad got cocky and didn't bother with proper security for Mom and little me traveling back from Eagle territory. Mom died in the wilderness. I didn't speak for 2 whole years after that. Dad's been drowning me in gilt gold and bodyguard knights ever since. But I wasn't backing down. 2 straight hours of arguing later, I won. Dad gave me 4 family knights, 30 elite cavalry, the old butler's second son as my assistant, 10,000 gold coins, and 4 wagons of secret medicines. So there I was. Wait. No, I don't start sentences like that. I poked my head out the carriage window, looked back at the massive walls of Rosa City one last time, and said the most dramatic single word I could manage. Let's go. 30 armored riders up front. My wolf crest carriage in the middle. 8 supply wagons behind me. Servants packed into the remaining carriages like sardines. The whole convoy rolling north toward the edge of civilization. Hades Ritakikan Biondi Milan, everybody. Former professional disappointment. Current frontier lord. Future builder of an army so strong my dad's gonna cry proud tears into his coffee. Which, again, I invented. You're welcome. 3 days out of Rosa City, and I already felt guilty. My servants were packed into their carriage like pickles in a jar, so I called a rest day at Red Maple Town. Yes, I have a heart. Don't tell anyone. Quick geography lesson. Rosa City sits in the middle of the Crickle Plains. Go north, you hit the Crew Highlands. Keep going, you reach the northern border provinces. The Girt Mountains up there block the cold heart demons from pouring south, and Grand Duke Purtis parks his steel fortress right in their face. Any demon that sneaks past the mountains gets a steel lance welcome party. My destination, Herda City, sits in the Golden Pillar province, the safe-ish inner ring of the north. And when I say city, I mean a sad little town that got abandoned because it's too close to the Girt Forest and too close to Tuan City, which is a proper city of 100,000 people that steals all the trade traffic. Herta is basically the kid picked last in dodgeball. But the land around it? Fertile, massive, empty, just waiting for someone dumb enough to move in next to a monster forest. Hi, that's me. We stopped at an inn called the Green Vine. My cavalry did what cavalry does, cleared the place out. Customers scattered like roaches when the lights turn on. My new butler, Skin. Yes, his name is Skin. I didn't pick it. Paid everyone extra for the inconvenience. Good man. But two guys didn't move. One was a middle-aged dude in leather armor with a two-handed greatsword so absurdly huge it looked like someone flattened a door and sharpened the edges. The other was a dwarf. First one I'd ever seen in person. Arms like tree trunks, beard braided into 3 ropes, and a warhammer the size of his entire body just sitting on the floor next to him like a pet dog. I sat down at their table uninvited because I have zero shame. Hey friends, sorry about the disruption. Greatsword guy looked up. What do you want? Meanwhile, behind me, my 2 justice knights slowly put down their forks. See, these guys are formally sworn to the Mulan family. They get 20 gold a month, combat drugs on schedule, and family combat techniques. Their policy on people who disrespect the family? Death. One policy. Very simple employee handbook. But I spotted something on the dwarf's neck, a black hammer pendant. I'd read every book in our family library like the nerd I secretly am, and I knew that pendant. Iron Hammer Tribe, the biggest dwarf clan in the Red Mountains. And my future plans absolutely required dwarf-forged weapons. So I turned on the charm to maximum. I'm Hades, from Rosa City, going north. You guys headed that way too? Awkward silence. Skin was already calculating rescue strategies. My knights were calculating murder strategies. Very different energy at my table versus theirs. Then the dwarf spoke. I'm Oleg Gigi Ironhammer. Call me Oleg. We're going to Tuan City. Greatsword guy grunted. Dina, friendship initiated. We clinked cups of the worst wheat beer I've ever tasted, and half an hour later my guys were carrying my drunk self to bed while I mumbled, brothers, over and over. Very dignified. Very lordly. When Dina heard I was going to be Lord of Herta, he literally offered his condolences. Said the place is crawling with forest beasts, populated by criminals, and the locals hate outsiders. I smiled and said, I'm here now. Everything will be fine. He looked at me like I'd announced I was going to teach fish to fly. Both promised to visit after their business in Tuan City. We parted ways there. They went into the big city. My convoy turned east toward my glorious domain of absolutely nothing. Oh, and about the knight system on this continent. Quick rundown. 1,000 years ago, some guy killed a dragon and called himself a knight. Now everyone who can cultivate battle aura and learn combat techniques is a knight. The ranks go Brave Knight, Justice Knight, Glory Knight, Grand Knight, Titled Knight, and the legendary Saint Knight, aka Dragon Killer tier. Me? My body can't gather battle aura at all. Can't cultivate. Can't knight. The god of light slammed the door in my face so hard it echoed. But he cracked open a window. Turns out I'm talented in magic, alchemy, and pharmaceuticals, 3 fields that basically nobody on the East Continent cares about. Dad spent big money hiring me 3 tutors. Pharmacy teacher? Done by age 15. Old man said, I have nothing left to teach you. Felt amazing. Magic teacher? Former court mage. Left when I was 16 to chase legends in the mist forest. Dramatic exit. Alchemy master? Snuck away at night when I was 18. Left only a letter. But funny thing, the family's coffee plants somehow got way more productive after 8 years of me studying alchemy. Coincidence? Absolutely not. So here I am. Can't swing a sword worth a damn, but I can brew potions, cast spells, and upgrade your crops. The most overpowered nerd on the continent, heading to the most underpowered city in the empire. This is going to be great. Herta City. Population, 3,000. Actual law-abiding citizens, maybe 12. Tax revenue over the last 5 years, 2 silver coins. The Imperial military did the math on sending troops to fix this place and concluded the cost-benefit ratio was, why bother? The last lord lasted 1 month before running away crying. This is my kingdom now. I'm so excited. I sent 2 riders ahead to announce my arrival. They posted the official documents, shouted, your new lord is coming, and the entire city responded with nothing. Absolutely nothing. 3,000 people collectively went blind and deaf at the same time. Incredible coordination, honestly. Meanwhile, in some random house, the real rulers of Herda were having a meeting. Let me introduce the lineup. ORL, a slave trader so fat he needs assistance just to walk. Has a 100-man capture squad. Frick, mercenary boss. 40 fighters. His entire philosophy is, whoever pays more gets my sword. Travis, militia captain with 30 trained men. Wants me to pay 5 years of back patrol fees. Sir, you were patrolling what exactly? The Roan brothers. Joe screamed. Anyone who messes with me gets chopped, while his brother Johnny just stood there with crossed arms looking menacing. Real sophisticated operation. Pike, merchant. Smart enough to keep his mouth shut during the whole meeting. Elena, brothel owner with connections to big shots in Tuan City. Spent the entire meeting staring into space, thinking about her nails or something. And the one guy who didn't even show up. Wom, the tavern owner who represents the original locals. His policy with everyone is, leave me alone and I'll leave you alone. Respect. After the meeting, most of them figured I'd be like every other lord, scare me a little, push me around, and I'd be gone in a month. Business as usual. But Pike is smart. Pike somehow found out my full name. Hades Rita Kikan Biondi Mulan. And Pike knows what Mulan means. A border county the size of a whole province. 2 million citizens. The strongest knight order outside the Imperial Legion. Chop him. Pike probably laughed so hard he pulled a muscle. He packed up his entire merchant operation and left town that same day. Smart man. I like Pike. Elena got a one-word letter from her contact in Tuan City. Eagle. She broke into a cold sweat, burned the letter, and sat perfectly still for a long time, making life decisions. Day 1 in Herda. April, Imperial year 497. I had everyone take down the family banners and remove the crests from the carriages before entering. No need to advertise. Let's see who's smart and who's stupid first. The Lord's Manor turned out to be a crumbling 2-story stone fort. I sat down at the entrance like it was a throne and waited. I asked Skin what time it was. Half hour to noon. Then I turned to Knight Alvin and said 5 words. Uncle Alvin, prepare to kill. Casual. Like ordering lunch. Elena showed up first. Dressed to impress, bowing deep, offering her services. Smart woman. I ignored her completely. She stayed frozen in her bow like a statue. Good instincts. Wom came next. Straightforward guy. Walked right up, looked me in the eye, and announced himself loudly. I ignored him too. Then ORL arrived. This human meatball needed help walking 100 meters and showed up drenched in sweat, gasping for air. Travis and Frick came running behind him. Everyone started tripping over themselves to greet me. I stood up, looked at Alvin, gave him a nod. Alvin drew his knight's sword, mounted his warhorse, and rode out with 20 cavalry behind him. Then I looked at the people in front of me. Elena peeked up at me, saw my expression, and dropped straight to her knees. Good instincts again. From now on, I said, I'm in charge of Herda City. Orl's body fat literally jiggled with displeasure. Sir, your flesh is expressing opinions independently of your brain. I continued, you can keep your businesses. I don't care about them. Frankly, I look down on them. But everything operates within MY rules. And I make the rules. Then I drop the Real bomb. I might even hand out a few Baron titles. If you make me happy. The breathing in front of me got real heavy. See, in this world, becoming a noble is basically impossible for commoners. You either become a knight through combat training, or you get ennobled by a top-tier noble family. And guess which family can hand out titles? The border counts. Like, say, the Mulan family. ORL, the sweaty meatball, asked for my full name. I gave it. Hades Rita Kikan Biondi Mulan. I swear that man almost fainted. Even stone-faced Wom looked shaken. They didn't know exactly who I was, but they knew Hades plus Mulan equals, do not mess with this person. Everyone scattered to reconsider their life choices. By sunset, the dead trees outside Herda had some new decorations. The Roan brothers and their band of outlaws, strung up like holiday ornaments. Joe was going to chop me, remember? Alvin had a different opinion on that matter. Alvin's opinion involved swords and ropes and gravity. That night, over 100 people showed up at my fort and renovated the entire place at record speed. Motivated labor force when properly inspired. ORL also sent 4 teenage girls to my quarters as a gift. I told Skin to handle it. I'm here to build an empire, not a harem. There's a time and place. ORL, and day one isn't it. So yeah, first day in Herta City, established dominance, executed bandits, got my house renovated for free, and turned down a human trafficking gift basket. Productive. But this dump isn't even my real goal. What I actually want is the massive fertile wasteland to the northeast and the girt forest beyond it. Herta City? That's just the lobby. Night one in my luxurious stone box. The maids lit candles and incense like we were still in the capital. Bless their hearts. You can take the servants out of the mansion, but you can't take the mansion out of the servants. Once everyone left, I pulled out my necklace, gift from my old magic teacher, closed my eyes, focused my mind, and boom. I was in my pocket dimension. Yeah, I have a pocket dimension. That's the secret. That's the cheat code. This place has sky, land, mountains, water. Basically a small world all to myself. 10 years ago, 8-year-old me accidentally fell into this thing and spent 2 years too freaked out to talk to anyone. Dad thought it was trauma from Mom's death. Nope. I was just processing the fact that I owned a reality. Here's how it works. Living things grow faster inside. Non-living stuff can be copied. I can materialize anything I've touched or understand the properties of. The more complex or powerful the thing, the more mental energy it costs. Simple enough, right? So what did I do with 10 years and unlimited growing space? I collected nearly every plant species on the continent through the family's connections, touched them, copied them into my world. I now have over 27,000 rare medicinal plants in there. 2,000 stalks of star grass, the key ingredient for night awakening potions. Over 1,000 finished awakening potions sitting in my log cabin storage. Oh, and there's iron ore. And gold ore. Just sitting in big pits on a mountainside. Copied those too. The coffee that took the empire by storm? Grown in here, perfected in here, then handed to the family like. Oh, I just got lucky with farming tea. I also have one unfinished enchanted armor set and one unfinished enchanted longsword. Enchanting is basically building tiny magic circles onto equipment, but you need a beast core as the power source. Which means I need magical beasts. Which means I need the girt forest. Which is why I'm here. I pulled out my notebook, written in a language that doesn't exist in this world, because I'm paranoid, and reviewed my inventory. Then I thought about the real mystery. Why does the fertile wasteland northeast of Herta seem to repel monsters from the girt forest? Something is out there keeping the beasts away. I've read every book I could access, asked everyone including Dad, and got zero answers. Another reason I picked this location. My master plan in order. Explore the wasteland, figure out its secret, farm monster cores from the girt forest, mass-produce enchanted gear, build a night order from scratch using my 1,000 awakening potions, and prepare for the war I know is coming. Then maybe conquer the continent. You know, casual goals. I want to sleep like a baby. Meanwhile, the local power players were lying awake staring at their ceilings, wondering if tomorrow they'd be nobles or corpses. Sucks to be them. Actually, no, it sucks to be stupid. The smart ones will do fine. Next day, noon meeting in the stone fort. Long table. Me at the head. Skin behind me. My 4 knights seated by rank. Quick team introduction. Alvin, the Glory Knight. 45 years old. Came with me partly because I'm nice to him and partly because he wants to secure a future for his upcoming grandchild. His meeting strategy? Eyes closed, mouth shut, sword ready. Perfect employee. Hank, Justice Knight. 35. Was stuck in a dead-end position back in Eagle territory. Came along because following the youngest son on a crazy adventure beats being mediocre at home. He was watching me very carefully to see if I actually knew what I was doing. Raymond and Heather, both Justice Knights. Only 5 or 6 years older than me. These two basically treat me like a little brother. No families, no land, nothing to lose. My success, yes, their success. Most motivated guys at the table. Then the locals, Fat ORL, Stoneface Wom, Travis the militia guy, and Elena the brothel queen. Time to give orders. ORL, 50 slaves. Male. Prime age. 7 days. Go see skin for 1,000 gold coins. Quality guaranteed, or else. Whatever profit you make on the deal is yours. 300 pounds of flesh wobbled with excitement and said yes to everything. Travis, you're recruiting soldiers. 50 spots. Pay is triple your old militia rate. For every person you recruit, you get 35 silver coins as a bonus. Ian, I nodded at my cavalry squad leader outside the door, will handle training. Ian slammed his fist to his chest in salute. Travis jumped out of his seat like I'd just proposed to him. My honor, Lord Hades, Wom. Spread a message. All the abandoned farmland west and south of Herda. Anyone who works it gets my protection. Whatever you clear, you can farm for 3 years. 30% goes to me. You keep the rest. After 3 years, you can apply to renew. I'll issue a Lord's decree making it official. Wom looked like he wanted to say something, but swallowed it and nodded. Smart man picks his battles. Elena, the woman straightened up like a soldier at inspection, which was funny given her line of work. Go to Tuan City. Spread a message. I tossed her a sealed letter. No further explanation needed. She caught it. She understood. Good dog. I mean, good operative. Day 2, and I've already got slaves incoming for labor, a recruitment drive for soldiers, a farming policy to attract settlers, and an intelligence agent heading to the nearest major city. Back home, Dad's probably sitting in his study thinking, that boy is going to get himself killed. Meanwhile, I'm over here with 1,000 night. Awakening potions, a pocket dimension full of gold, ore, and a town full of people who will do anything for a barren title. Getting killed? Please. I haven't even gotten started yet. 1 month in Herda City, and the place already looked different. The wanted criminals? Either doing hard labor building my new castle or hanging from dead trees outside the walls as vulture buffets. Pick your career path, gentlemen. The farmland outside was slowly getting worked. Settlers were trickling in, and the rumors I had Elena spread in Tuan City, working beautifully. Herda City is swimming in gold coins. There's a gold mine in the northeastern wasteland. Total lies, obviously. But the kind of lies that attract merchants and mercenary bands, which is exactly what I wanted. Free traffic to my doorstep. Marketing 101. Now for the fun part. I gathered my 30 family cavalry in the barracks yard. For knights standing beside me. For boxes on the table in front of them. Inside, 30 crystal vials of blue liquid. Knight awakening potions. Let me explain how big this is. Becoming a knight requires connecting your body to the world's battle aura. Most people can't do it on talent alone. They need help. Awakening potions dramatically boost your chances. They're so rare and valuable that noble families literally use them as strategic weapons to maintain power. A commoner getting 1 potion is like winning the lottery. Getting 1 for free? That's like the lottery coming to your house and apologizing for being late. I had over 1,000 of these things sitting in my pocket dimension. I've requested 30 potions from the family, I announced with a straight face. 1 per person. Consider it my gift, requested from the family. Huh. I brewed them myself in my secret space garden while humming songs from another world. But sure, requested, sounds more official. The soldiers tried so hard to maintain formation. You could see their breathing get heavy, hear the whispers starting. Then someone cracked and yelled, "Loyalty to Lord Hades." And then all of them. Loyalty to Lord Hades. Loyalty to Lord Hades. Beautiful. 30 potions that cost me basically nothing, and I just bought undying loyalty from 30 trained cavalry. Return on investment, infinite. And what I didn't tell them, if the first dose fails, I'll give them a second chance. I've got potions coming out of my ears. Within a month, some of these guys will be newly minted brave knights. The rest will get another shot. Now the 50 slaves. ORL bought them from the biggest slave trader in Tuan City, a guy named Kasim. Their story? They were villagers from the Iz province up north, near the Gert Mountains. Small demon raiding parties slaughtered several villages. 400 or 500 people, less than 100 escaped. They ran south, getting thinner and more desperate at every stop, because no noble would take them in. Kasim's men found them and dragged them to Tuan City, where Kasim immediately yelled at his guys for bringing home merchandise that couldn't even stand up straight. Then ORL showed up needing 50 slaves. Kasim was thrilled to dump his money-losing inventory, fed them for 3 days, picked the 50 healthiest men, sold them at 8 gold each. For 100 gold total. Now here's where the comedy kicks in. I gave ORL 1,000 gold for this job. He paid 400, kept 600 profit, then gave 100 to Elena as hush money. Elena brought that 100 gold straight to me that same night and told me everything about Orl's deal. So let me do the math. ORL thinks he scammed me for 600 gold while Elena is secretly reporting his every move. The man played himself and doesn't even know it. I love this town. I visited the slave camp outside the city. Orl's capture squad was patrolling the perimeter, guys with iron forks and rope wrapped around their torsos, looking like they couldn't decide between being guards or cowboys. Some wore cheap leather armor. Others just had skin so tough it basically was armor. My carriage rolled in. Skin set up the fancy stepping stool. I descended like royalty visiting the peasants, which is exactly what was happening. 50 men stood in formation behind Orl's jiggling mass. They looked broken, hollow eyes, numb faces. We've accepted our fate, expression that made my chest tighten a little. Just a little. I'm Hades. I bought you. You follow my orders now. Who's the leader? Step forward. One guy walked out. Rags for clothes, but built like a tank. Everyone else looked malnourished from weeks of fleeing and starving. But this dude still had muscle definition. Either he's built different, or he was eating rocks for protein. Thank you for taking us in, my lord. I'm Arsa, from Windmill Town in the Iz province. We were attacked by demons. Many died. Only we escaped. But 30 of our people, women, our families, are still with that slave trader in Tuan City. Please help us reunite. If you do, our lives are yours. Bold move, negotiating when you're literally property. I respected it. You're in no position to make deals with me, I said. His face fell. But I don't mind helping. Show me your worth at first. His face unfell. See, I'm not heartless. I'm just transactional. You want your families back? Great. Earn it. Show me you can fight, work, and survive. Then I'll go buy 30 more people from Kasim and look like a generous hero while actually just expanding my workforce. Everybody wins. Especially me. Nice sunny morning. Perfect day to sit in my secret room and carve tiny magical circuits on a steel armor like a medieval nerd with a craft hobby. Let me explain enchanting, because it's actually fascinating and also the reason I'm going to take over this continent. Enchanting works like this. You carve special symbols called inscriptions onto equipment. Each symbol has a specific property. Combine them in the right pattern and you get an array, basically a baby magic circle. Real mages look down on it because it's crude and simplified. But you know what crude and simplified magic does when you slap it onto a suit of armor? It makes a knight terrifyingly powerful. Enchanted swords, shields, crossbows, arrows, siege weapons, even war horses. Enchanting turned everything into a weapon upgrade. But here's where it all went wrong. Power source. Arrays need energy. Knights can fuel personal gear with their own battle aura, but for everything else, public transport, cargo ships, city gates, you need Siberia crystals. And humanity did what humanity always does with a finite resource. They used it all, burned through it in wars like it was firewood. A crystal vein takes 1,000 years to form. Takes about 3 years to empty one completely. So naturally empires mined every single one and threw them into wars. Brilliant. The golden age of enchanting collapsed. Enchanted public carriages? Gone. Enchanted cargo ships? Gone. Enchanted city gate pulleys? Gone. All the cool civilian stuff that made life convenient just vanished. Every government locked down remaining crystals as strategic military resources. Regular people went back to horse-drawn everything. Thanks, politicians. Now enchanted gear is so rare that only noble-born knights or elite warriors get any. Alvin, my glory knight, my best fighter, doesn't even have enchanted equipment. That's how scarce it is. The profession itself nearly died too. Generations of enchanting knowledge lost because nobody could afford to practice it. But me? I read every book in the family library. I studied under an actual enchanting master. And I figured out something from cross-referencing ancient texts with my teacher's theories. Magical beast cores can replace Siberia crystals as power sources. Beast cores, from magical beasts, which live in the Girt Forest, which is right next to my territory. You see where this is going? My master plan, expanded edition. Step 1. Explore the Girt Forest, kill magical beasts, harvest their cores. Step 2. Use cores to power enchanted equipment instead of impossibly rare crystals. Step 3. Carve one master copy of each enchanted item, then mass duplicate them in my pocket dimension. Because yes, my cheat space can copy non-living objects. I literally have a magical photocopier for armor. Step 4. Build a knight order where every single member wears enchanted gear. In a world where even elite knights can't get enchanted equipment, my guys will all have it. That's like showing up to a sword fight with a tank battalion. And step 5, the really crazy one. Design enchanted armor simple enough that ordinary soldiers and beginner knights can use it. Not just elite fighters. Everyone. An entire army in enchanted steel. Plus I've got 1,000 awakening potions to mass-produce new knights. And I can ask Dad for family breathing techniques and training manuals. Over time, some will hit Justice Knight. Some will reach glory. Maybe even Grand Knight or Title Knight tier. Saint Knight? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The entire empire only has 4 known Saint Knights, and one of them isn't even human. The Church of Light has maybe 3. My own ancestor was one of the 6 Saint Knights, who helped the Lion King build the empire 500 years ago, but that's ancient history. Most people don't even know that story anymore. I only found out because I read the family archives while everyone assumed I was being a useless bookworm. Nobody tells the waste kid about glorious ancestral legends. Their loss, my advantage. I put down my carving knife after an hour of work and stretched. My current project, Strength Enhancement Type Mark I. Back in the pocket dimension, I've also got Weight Reduction Speed Type Mark I, Defense Type Mark I, Armor Piercing Amplification Type Mark I, and the unfinished, comprehensive model number 1. Basically running an R&D department out of a magical closet. Check the wall clock. 8 in the morning by this world's time system, which, by the way, divides the day into 4 zones of 3 standard hours each, 12 total. Perfectly logical. Almost like someone designed it to confuse me. Closed up the secret room, rang the bedside bell. 2 maids came in with warm water, towels, and my custom toiletry kit. Yes, custom. I made my own toothbrush, wooden handle, horsehair bristles. My own face wash, plant extract in a crystal bottle. Because the alternatives in this world are horrifying. Nobles here brush their teeth with special tree branches that you soak in water until they split into fibers. Some just gargle salt water. The commoners? Some use leaves. Some use urine. Urine. As mouthwash. And plenty of people just walk around with yellow teeth and breath that could knock out a war horse. I will modernize this continent, if only so I never have to smell anyone's medieval morning breath again. Freshened up, I walked into the meeting room where 2 merchants from Tuan City were already waiting. They jumped up and bowed the second I appeared. Good day, Lord Hades. Good day indeed, gentlemen. You have no idea what you're about to become part of. 2 big shots from Tuan City sitting in my meeting room before breakfast. Must be my natural charisma, or the fact that I'm a Milan. Probably the Milan thing. First guy, Kasim, the slave trader. Not small-time ORL. This is the premium model. 500 armed men in his capture squad. The saying in Tuan City goes, there's no slave Kasim can't get, only never enough gold coins. His business card probably just says, I get people, in big letters. Second guy, Kofi Yak, holder of a knighthood title he bought for 50,000 gold coins. Owns the Astor Trading Company, biggest in Tuan City, and secretly runs the Scales auction house. This man heard through expensive capital channels that I left Rosa City with 4 wagons of secret medicines, and he came running. State your business, I said from my chair, radiating casual authority. Kasim went first. Stood up, did the fancy chest fist bow, and pitched me. I have 300 Betel warriors. Natural-born fighters. Interested? Now that got my attention. But wait, 300 Betel warriors? Kasim's 500 guys couldn't capture 300 of those savages if they tried. They sold themselves to me, he explained. 10-year contract. No liability for deaths. Only condition, I convert the payment into supplies and ship it to Betel Island for their families. 300 self-selling warrior slaves who come with their own equipment? That's not a purchase. That's a recruitment drive that did itself. Work with me honestly, I told him. I don't mind you making profit. But think very carefully about the cost of lying to me. Oh, speaking of costs, quick update on ORL. Fat Man got hung from a pole at his own slave camp last night. Killed by his own right-hand man, Green. This morning, Green delivered Oral's entire fortune, 6,000 gold, to my door. Skin only took 500 and gave it right back to Green as a reward. Green then used 200 of it to try buying those 30 refugee women still stuck with Kasim. And Kasim, being very aware of which way the wind was blowing, gave them to Green for free and made sure to mention it was, on Lord Hades' behalf. See how things just work out when you're the biggest fish in the pond. Kasim's price, 50 gold per warrior. Bulk discount for all 300. 14,000 gold total, plus 2. Premium. Slaves thrown in free. Done, I said, like I was buying vegetables. Then I looked at Kofi. Poor Kofi was sweating. He wanted to ask the single most disrespectful question you can ask a noble. Will you sell me your secret medicines? In noble society, that's like walking up to someone and asking to buy their family heirlooms. But desperation makes people brave. I don't need gold coins, I said. His face collapsed, disappointment spreading across it like spilled ink. He started turning to leave. But you can pay with other things. That man spun around so fast he almost fell over. Life flooded back into his eyes like someone hit the reset button. I laid it out. 100 low-grade and 10 mid-grade training medicines. Priced them. Kofi calculated fast. 30,000 for the 100 low-grade, 10,000 for the 10 mid-grade. 43,000 total. The extra 3,000 is my greeting to Lord Hades. Honest man. I like honest. Since you're honest, here's a surprise. I'll add 5 night awakening potions. Kofi nearly choked. His voice started shaking. 20,000. No, 30,000. Not just gold. You'll have the full friendship of the Aster Trading Company. Every convenience I can offer. All of it. Meanwhile, Kasim was standing to the side sweating bullets because he just heard a deal involving awakening potions. Top-tier strategic military assets. Being discussed like grocery shopping. The man realized he was hearing things that could get him killed. Skin was smiling at him from the doorway. That smile was not comforting. I accepted Kofi's offer and then started listing my actual demands. Because gold is boring. Here's what I really wanted. 1. Kasim's 14,000 gets deducted from Kofi's payment. Kofi pays for my warriors. Thanks, Kofi. 2. Farm tools and ore. As much as he can supply. Market price, deducted from the total. 3. Craftsmen and blacksmiths. Recruit them, ship them to Herda. I'll pay double their current wages and relocate their families. 4. Spread 2 messages. First, to the common folk. Herda City has a new lord. Tons of farmland. Opportunities to earn copper, silver, and gold. Second, to the knight community. New lord in Herda. His name has Milan in it. Just those words. Let them connect the dots. 5. Any blowback from Baron Duvi or Count Elhorn is Kofi's problem. Figure it out. Kofi's face said, this is a lot. But his brain said, I have no choice. He agreed to everything and left with Kasim trailing behind him like a nervous shadow. Skin followed them both out, still smiling that terrifying butler smile. Total business conducted in under 30 minutes. 87,000 gold coins worth of deals. For context, a cup of cheap wheat beer in Herda costs 10 copper coins. A good pack horse costs 5 to 10 gold. 1 gold coin equals about 60 silver. 1 silver equals about 45 to 50 copper. 87,000 gold. In half an hour, while sitting in a crumbling stone fort in the middle of nowhere. I don't have a concept of money anymore. Gold coins are just numbers to me. And the beautiful part? Those medicines cost me basically nothing to make. Star grass from my pocket garden. Herbs I duplicated for free. Hours of brewing in a time-accelerated dimension where plants grow like they're in a hurry. My profit margin on this deal is essentially 100%. Being a reincarnated pharmaceutical tycoon with a personal pocket universe is, and I cannot stress this enough, extremely profitable. A week later in my Come Farm in Herda campaign attracted a whopping 13 families, all locals who were already here. 0 outsiders. My grand recruitment plan face-planted into the dirt. But honestly, expected it. This empire runs on feudalism so thick you could cut it with a sword. Most peasants don't even know the emperor's name, let alone some young lord waving free land around in the middle of nowhere. Their local lord is their entire government. The king's vassal's vassal is not the king's vassal. That's literally how this place works. Let me break down this society real quick because it explains why nobody's rushing to my door. At the bottom? Serfs. These poor souls signed away their freedom for protection. Work 3 days a week for the Lord for free. Can't leave. Can't read. Can't do anything without permission. Their kids? Also serfs. Forever. Oh, and some lords still enforce first night rights on brides. You can pay your way out of it with goods, but the fact that it exists tells you everything about this empire's civilization. Above serfs? Free farmers. They own their land, have rights, answer to imperial law instead of a lord. Sounds nice until they go bankrupt, and, surprise, back to serfdom they go. Then free citizens, merchants, craftsmen, mercenaries. Actual rights. Actual freedom. Then knights, lowest nobility. A knight's domain is usually one sad village. 3 to 100 families providing food and supplies in exchange for protection. Barons are a mess. Old barons from the empire's founding have territories rivaling counts. Newer barons have whatever scraps they got handed. For about 80 years, you could literally buy a baron title until the 11th emperor shut that down. Barons are basically the participation trophy of nobility. There's a ton of them. Viscounts barely exist anymore. Most bloodlines died out over 5 centuries. Rare as an honest politician. Counts come in 2 flavors, regular and border counts. Border counts, like my dad, have bigger land, bigger armies, and sometimes get called marquis, even though the empire never officially created that rank. Dad's Eagle territory used to border the Saxon kingdom before Grandpa's dad crushed their invasion, took their land, and renamed their capital to Winter Cold City. The empire's thank you gift? Fine, keep Eagle territory. Here's a count title and 3 baron slots. Generous. Dukes? All royal family members except the original Saint Knight families. Grand Duke Perdis guarding the Gert Mountains is literally the current emperor's uncle. And MY family's history? Our ancestor was a duke, one of the 6 Saint Knights who built this empire. But the main bloodline died out a few generations back. Grandpa's father was a side branch knight commander who earned his way to count by winning a war. The Mulan name went from fallen duke house to border count who saved the entire north in 1 generation. Now here's what matters to me. Imperial law says any land you pioneer outside imperial borders belongs to you. Get a pioneer's decree, go claim wilderness, survive, it's yours. Most people die trying. The ones who don't die usually can't hold what they took. But I've got a pocket dimension full of potions, a family name that makes people sweat, and a city positioned next to the biggest unclaimed fertile wasteland on the continent. The system is rigged against commoners climbing up. Lucky for me, I started at the top, and I'm building sideways. Let me tell you why nobody wants to live and hurt a city. It's in the empire's armpit, the far northeast corner. The trade routes stopped coming through once city got popular. Northeast is the mysterious wasteland. North of that is the Gert Forest where magical beasts live but mysteriously never leave. Some people think ancient mages put up a barrier. Others say the beasts are cursed to die if they leave the forest. Nobody actually knows. The good news? We're not getting eaten. The bad news? My city is still a dump that the empire literally gave up on because the tax revenue wouldn't even cover one official's travel expenses to collect it. This world is weird, by the way. The bottom class hasn't progressed in centuries while the top keeps inventing new stuff that only they get to use. Classic feudalism with extra steps. Speaking of inventions, let me tell you about banking, because this world accidentally stumbled into modern finance, and it's hilarious. 400 years ago, a merchant named Su got tired of hauling heavy coins around and getting robbed. So he convinced a local lord to back paper vouchers. Lord stamps his crest on paper. Su's trading house honors them for real goods or coins. Boom, paper money. It spread to dozens of cities. Then counterfeiters showed up and crashed the whole system. Classic. But the empire's finance minister heard about it and thought, that's actually brilliant. 13 years later, the Imperial National Bank was born. First paper bills had the Lion King's face on them. Anti-counterfeiting? They hired an archmage to create a unique magical watermark, had Red Mountain dwarves forge the printing plates, and a court pharmacist mix special ink that's basically impossible to replicate. Overkill for paper money, but it worked. Now there are multiple banks: the National Bank, the Royal Bank, the Southern Noble Alliance Bank, and the Northern Bank that my family CO founded with the Steel Fortress and Resina territory. All paper currency still gets printed and controlled by the National Bank, though. Smart system, actually. My 10,000 gold from Dad. One 5,000 note for thousands, 800s, and 150 actual gold coins plus some silver. Because places like Herta still trade in metal and barter like it's the Stone Age. Progress. Now, transportation. This continent tried really hard to fly and kept failing spectacularly. First attempt, mages tried using magic to fly. Failed. Not enough mana to sustain it. One legendary archmage eventually pulled it off with his own absurd power, making flight basically the archmage flex. Total known archmages on the continent, like 5. Very scalable solution, guys. Second attempt, Siberia crystal-powered flying machines. Failed. Not enough crystals and enchanting tech couldn't figure out flight mechanics. But they did manage enchanted ground carriages and siege crossbows, so partial credit? Third attempt. 100 years ago, the Imperial Research Academy discovered thermodynamics. 10 years later, someone proposed hot air balloons. They actually worked. People and cargo went up. But weather dependency, zero landing control, and high danger meant nobody adopted them widely. So close yet so far. Result: horses are king. Everything runs on horses. Cavalry, carriages, knights, trade, all horses. My family breeds Friedrich horses in Eagle territory, big northern war horses. Explosive power, built like tanks, terrible stamina. Grand Duke Purtis breeds Freeland horses, same category, same strengths, same weakness. The Empire's everyday workhorse is the Andalusia, not as strong or fast, but endurance for days. Pull a cart, ride into battle, do dressage. This horse does it all. The main breeding ground is Yeberg province, whose nobles everyone calls the horse nobles. They probably put horses on their family crests and their dinner plates. But, and here's the fun family secret, there's something else in the sky. Griffins. The imperial family has 100-rider Griffin Knight order. 100 flying lion eagles ridden by elite knights. This is so classified that regular nobles don't even know about it. Only families at our level get that intel. After dragons disappeared from history, griffins became the sky's apex predators. They can channel battle aura, so only powerful knights can even ride them. The Empire spent ungodly amounts of money and lost who knows how many people to griffin claws just to tame 100 of these things. 100 griffin knights. Secret aerial strike force. And I'm sitting here in my stone fort thinking, I wonder if the Girt Forest has any griffin eggs. What? A man can dream. 2 months in Herda. Time for a progress report on my night wholesale operation. Kofi delivered everything. Farm tools, iron, ore, 13 blacksmiths, 22 construction workers, and all their families. I bought up 24 houses near the fort for them and started building a forge. The previous owners took their fat payouts and either went to Tuan City or started farming outside. No drama. Gold solves problems that swords can't. Well, gold solves problems first. Swords are plan B. Now the real exciting part. My 30 cavalry spent a month attempting Night Awakening, and 25 of them succeeded. That's an 83% success rate. In a world where most people never even get a potion, I just mass-produced 25 brave knights like they were coming off an assembly line. The remaining 5? Currently, on attempt number 3. I burn through extra potions for them because I'm generous like that. Or because knights are an investment and I don't waste inventory. Same thing. The 25 new knights needed training materials, so here's where Dad's guilt gifts came in clutch. Every birthday since Mom died, Dad sent me something rare and expensive. Over the years, I accumulated a library of breathing techniques and combat arts. The man was trying to make me feel loved. He accidentally armed me for world domination. Thanks, Dad. I gave the troops the Dawn breathing technique, an original manuscript, not a copy. 4 combat arts. Alvin and I picked 3 beginner skills: Burning Blood Rush, Stored Sword Thrust, and Rising Parry. Basic stuff for fresh knights. Then Alvin heard me casually listing dozens of combat techniques from my collection, and his jaw almost hit the floor. I handed him an advanced tier technique as a personal gift and let the other 3 Justice Knights study it too. Alvin promised to return it in 2 months. The man looked like I'd given him a winning lottery ticket, which I basically did. Quick combat art rankings for context. Beginner arts are body tricks enhanced with battle aura. Fancy sword moves that normal humans can't pull off. Mid-tier arts pack more punch. Advanced arts let you project battle aura outside your body. Ranged attacks, basically. Above that, Earth tier, Star tier, and Saint tier. Ultra rare, ultra destructive, mostly secret. Only titled knights can fully use Earth and Star techniques. Saint tier? Created by Saint Knights, for Saint Knights. My family has one. Nobody's been able to use it since the founder. It's basically a decorative legend at this point. Meanwhile, in the barracks, My knights in training were having the time of their lives. And by that I mean suffering intensely. In one room, Hank was coaching a cavalryman through breathing exercises. Inhale through the nose, pause, tongue to the roof of your mouth, chant Guide, pause and chant Al Destroyer, deeper breath, feel the battle aura, pull it in, chant Ballenworthy, exhale slowly. The guy looked like every blood vessel in his body was about to pop. Sweat soaking through his clothes, veins bulging everywhere. Fun. In the next room, Raymond, youngest of my 4 knights and very intense, was being dramatically motivational. You should be grateful to Lord Hades. 3 doses of awakening potion. Personal one-on-one night tutoring. When I was coming up, we had none of this. Appreciate it, Junior. Keep going. Success or failure. Right here, right now. Pull that aura in. Pain is temporary. Knight's glory is one step away. I love Raymond. That man coaches like a drill sergeant who just drank 5 espressos. If espresso existed here, which it doesn't because I only invented coffee, espresso is next on my list. Now, while my factory was churning out knights, I had a personal errand. Went out to the refugee village with Skin, Knight Heather, and the old coachman. The 80-plus refugees I bought were now reunited. Green brought their women and families back from Tuan City, and I'd set them up in an abandoned village. Gave them tools and seeds on loan, 3 years tax-free, repay with grain or coin. Pretty sweet deal for former slaves. But I had one condition. Arsa, their leader, joins my cavalry. Here's why I want Arsa specifically. When Alvin examined him, he couldn't tell if Arsa was a knight or not. That's unusual. Alvin is a glory knight, 3rd rank. He should be able to read anyone below him like a book. There are only 2 explanations. Option A. Arsa is an untrained natural talent. High potential but self-taught, resulting in messy, unstable aura that confuses detection. A. Wild knight, who never had proper guidance. Option B. Arsa is a grand knight or higher who deliberately sealed his own aura nodes to hide his power. I'm betting on option B, because when you're building an army from scratch in the wilderness, you don't bet small. So today I personally walked down the overgrown path to his village, grass tall as wagon wheels. Carriage couldn't even fit through, playing the humble lord who visits his people on foot. Total, I respect talented men, theater. Very calculated, very noble looking. Arsa met me halfway. Clean clothes, muscles on display, beard covering half his face, homemade bag on his back. He saluted properly and greeted me. Good manners. I like that. At the carriage, I pointed at a horse I'd brought, complete with a knight's sword and a set of armor strung up with rope on the saddle. It's yours. He said thank you and mounted the war horse like he'd been born on one. Smooth, practiced, natural. No fumbling, no hesitation. The kind of mounting technique you only get from years of cavalry experience. A refugee farmer who rides war horses like a veteran knight. Yeah, option B is looking real good right now. We rode back to herd it together. My knight factory is running. My mysterious ringer just joined the squad. And somewhere in my pocket dimension, 1,000 more awakening potions are waiting for the next batch of recruits. I'm not building a knight order. I'm running a wholesale operation. So we were bouncing back from Wheat Village on the world's worst road. Even with enchanted shock absorbers, my carriage was rocking like a boat in a storm. Poor Skin looked like he was about to redecorate the coachman's seat with his breakfast. Then Skin looked up and saw horses, with masked riders, holding weapons. Young master. Situation. Assassins. Oh, wonderful. I've been a lord for 2 months, and someone already wants me dead. I must be doing something right. Old coachman yanked the reins. Carriage stopped. 15 masked riders launched a charge straight at us. Heather was first to react, spurred his horse in front of my carriage, drew his knight's sword, and the air temperature around him literally rose. This is a justice knight going combat mode. Very cool. Literally hot. Arsa, brand new recruit, hasn't even put on his armor yet, just got his sword today, pulled up beside Heather without hesitation. Shirtless knight fight. Bold fashion choice. Old coachman whipped the horses into a U-turn, and we started bouncing away at maximum speed. Skin shouted at the 2 fighters. By the young master time. What happened next I pieced together from reports later, but here's how Heather's fight went. He charged into 15 riders and immediately decapitated 2 in a single blur. stabbed a third through the chest. 3 dead in the opening second. The remaining assassins weren't impressed, or rather, they were professionals who didn't care. 2 peeled off to fight Heather while the rest tried to chase my carriage. Heather wanted to turn and intercept, but the 2 left behind were good. Both Justice Knights. One was a hulking brute with a greatsword built for raw power. The other was a lanky freak with extra long arms and a rapier for speed attacks. Perfect tag team, muscle wall up front, speed demon flanking. Any normal Justice Knight facing these 2? Dead. But Heather is Milan trained. Eagle Territory's finest young talent. He chose to stand and fight rather than run, and the big guy responded by chopping his horse's head off. So Heather fought on foot, against 2 mounted knights. And he went full throttle, battle aura maxed, combat arts pushed to the absolute limit, body screaming in protest. The 3 of them tore up the grassland like a localized tornado. When the dust settled, Heather had a hole punched through his chest plate leaking blood, 3 chips in his sword, and his left forearm guard was caved in, with the arm still inside. The big guy had a neck wound, oozing blood, and 3 cuts to the bone on his left arm. The lanky one had a gash along his waist, and a wounded sword arm hanging limp. Heather was standing on pure willpower, using his sword as a crutch, blood pouring from his mouth. And he started laughing. Full, deep, satisfied laughter. The man was potentially dying, and his review was 5 stars, great fight, no regrets. Then the laughter stopped. More blood. He pulled off his helmet, sweat-soaked brown curls falling out, and just stared at the 2 assassins. Waiting. He'd burned everything he had. Couldn't even stand straight. His only thought, Lord Hades should have escaped by now. The 2 assassins crept closer. Heather closed his eyes. Big guy raised his greatsword for the killing blow. A calloused hand caught the blade mid-swing. Big guy pulled. The sword didn't move, not a millimeter. Lanky guy switched to his left hand and swung at the newcomer's waist. The rapier stopped in midair like it hit an invisible wall. Both assassins looked up at the man holding them in place. Beard covering his face. Linen clothes soaked red with blood, definitely not his own. RSA. My gamble paid OFF. Option B confirmed. This refugee farmer just caught a greatsword with his bare hand. Heather opened his eyes, saw Arsa standing there like an immovable god, managed a smirk, and passed out. Earned that nap. What happened next took about 1 second. Arsa crushed the greatsword in his grip. A fragment punched through big guy's mask and into his eye. Then a casual knife hand strike nearly severed lanky guy's arm, left it dangling by skin. He gently laid Heather on the ground, then dragged both screaming assassins over by their hair. My carriage rolled back up. Old coachman was grinning. That old man has seen some things, and none of them bother him anymore. I stepped down, walked past the blood and body parts without blinking. I've been mentally preparing for violence since I decided to come north, and knelt beside Heather. Reached into my lace-trimmed sleeve, pulled out a healing potion from my pocket dimension, pried open his mouth, and poured it in. He coughed violently, opened his eyes, and saw me smiling down at him. You're fine, buddy. You earned every coin of your salary today. Then I walked over to the 2 mangled assassins. No armor, no identifying marks. Masks, clearly planned to be untraceable. Professional hit. Someone with money and brains ordered this. No armor, can't trace them, interrogation would be pointless. When Alvin gets here, chop off their hands and feet and hang them from the trees outside Herda. Let everyone see what happens. Then I turned to Arsa. My bet on option B just returned 1,000%. This man caught a Justice Knight's full power sword strike with his bare hand. He's at minimum a Grand Knight. Maybe higher. And he'd been hiding in a refugee camp eating gruel. I don't care who you were before, I said. From today, I, Hades Raidakikan Biondi Mulan, formally grant you the title of Knight. Wheat Village is your domain. Just like that. 1 sentence. Arsa went from slave to landed knight in the time it takes to sneeze. Heather nearly died fighting 2 assassins to a standstill. Arsa ended the same fight by breaking a sword with his fingers. And both of them work for me now. I told you. Wholesale night operation. And business is booming. Alvin's rescue party showed up looking like a movie poster. 3 silver-armored knights with wolf crests up front, 25 freshly minted brave knights in chainmail behind them, and 50 beta warriors in gifted chainmail carrying matching axes in the back. My personal army rolling across the wasteland like a heavy metal album cover. Alvin saw the corpses, didn't even flinch, just barked orders. Ian, 5 men on body cleanup. Nimru, 10 men to assist. Casual, like he was delegating chores. He rode up to my carriage, and all 3 knights dropped to one knee. Apologies, Lord Hades. We arrived late. I pulled them up and introduced Arsa properly. My first officially titled landed knight. The reactions were fascinating. The new brave knights? Envious, but motivated. Alvin and the 3 justice knights? Humiliated. Not by me, by themselves. An outsider just saved their lord because they weren't there. I could practically hear their internal monologues. Never again. Never. Again. Good. Use that fire, gentlemen. Reward time. Heather got 4 training potions, 1 healing potion, unlimited access to 1 advanced combat art of his choice from my collection, and 100 gold. The man almost died fighting 2-on-1. He earned that package. Arsa got a war horse, full armor set, 200 gold, and 5 years tax-free for Wheat Village. The 28 riders who came to rescue? 50 gold each. Back in Herda, I formally knighted all 30 cavalry in front of the stone fort, including the last 5 who just finished their awakening. Allowed them to recruit their own squires. Bumped everyone's pay to Eagle territory standard. Then I gave an order. Next morning, Tuan City shops were barely opening when 31 knights led by Raymond smashed through the city guards at the gate and rode through the streets with 18 severed heads on their lance tips, including the 2 assassins Arsa caught. Full parade. Maximum volume. Every major street covered. Tuan City's lord, Normav, top vassal and right-hand man of Count Darien, told his guards, monitor them. Don't interfere unless they hurt civilians or break stuff. Then he muttered under his breath, young people are so dramatic. Yes, we are, Normav. Yes, we are. My boys finished their tour and left some bonus head decorations on the trees outside Tuan City. Because apparently that's my thing now. Hanging people and parts of people on trees. In my defense, Herda City has no walls. Where else am I supposed to display my warnings? I work with what I've got. Now, who sent the assassins? I ran through the suspects, top of the list. The 4 great families plus the royal house back in the capital. They don't even need a specific reason. Just, what if this kid becomes something someday? Kill him now while he's cheap to eliminate. 3 justice knights and 1 brave knight is pocket change for them. Bonus points if my death makes Dad lose his mind with grief and disrupts Mulan family operations. Triple bonus if it sparks conflict between Eagle territory and the northern nobles. Second possibility, Count Darien's local noble faction around Tuan City. Maybe they think I'm a Mulan chess piece planted to expand into their territory. Kill the nail before it goes deeper. But this felt less likely. The Mulan family has good relations with the northern nobles, and attacking me risks Eagle territory's retaliation. Most local lords aren't that stupid. Third and least likely, my own brothers. My brain immediately screamed, impossible, but my rational side whispered, don't rule it out. They've always been great to me. They don't get along with each other, but both treated me well. And I'm no threat to the inheritance. I'm the useless 3rd son who left voluntarily. But politics does things to people. Probability, tiny. Elimination from the list, not yet. Did the assassination attempt shake me? Nope. Got me excited. Nothing motivates like someone trying to kill you. I checked my pocket dimension inventory, fields of medicinal herbs, piles of finished potions, and 5 completed enchanted armor sets waiting for deployment. My confidence meter shot to maximum. Felt like the old days in my previous life, that pure drive of building something from nothing. One last piece of business. Elena was waiting in my meeting room. Those 2 people I had you watching in Tuan City. Update, they're staying at the Blackbeard Inn on South Street. Visit a blacksmith shop every day looking for something. Haven't found it. Planning to leave in 2 days. Those 2 would be my dwarf buddy Oleg and big man Dina. Time to reel them in. New task. Make sure they hear 2 things. Herda City has a new lord, apparently named Hades, and he was recently attacked by assassins. Make it sound natural. Don't be obvious. Elena nodded and left to collect 30 gold from Skin. A new lord they already know personally? Recently almost murdered? Those 2 are going to come running. And when they do, I'll have a dwarf blacksmith connection and a greatsword-swinging mercenary joining my roster. Some people network at parties. I network through attempted murder and selective gossip. Whatever works. June, Imperial Year 497. Summer hit and Herta City is actually starting to look like a place instead of a collection of sad buildings pretending to be a town. New construction everywhere, 2 neat rows of houses around the fort, and my pride and joy, a full forging and smelting district. 4 state-of-the-art blast furnaces, 6 or 7 meters tall, each with dedicated intake, air, slag, and iron ports. I had Kofi source the most advanced models available. Next door is the charcoal room. Across the way are the forging shops for working iron and steel. Quick metallurgy lesson from your favorite reincarnated nerd. You wrap iron or burn it, get sponge iron, hammer it into wrought iron. For steel, you work carbon powder into the sponge iron and hammer out the air bubbles through hot or cold forging. Quality depends on or purity and carbon content. Riveting stuff. Literally. And who's running my forge? A red mountain dwarf. Specifically, my drinking buddy Oleg. Here's how that happened. Oh no, Hades got assassinated. Rumor worked perfectly. Oleg and Dina heard their friend was a lord and almost got murdered, and they sprinted 50 miles to Herta like their pants were on fire. They burst into my fort ready for a funeral and found me sitting there grinning with 0 injuries. We then proceeded to get blackout drunk for 3 days. On day 4, when everyone could see straight again, Oleg finally told me why he was in Tuan City. Turns out the Iron Hammer tribe has a holy relic called the Eternal Furnace, a massive enchanted forge embedded in the mountain that powers their entire underground city of 200,000 dwarves. Earlier this year, it went dark. No power, no light, no forging. 20,000 dwarves sitting in the dark like the world's saddest campout. The problem? 3 small magic arrays inside the furnace broke down. The archmage who originally built them is long dead. The blueprints? 2 out of 3 were found in the city. The 3rd was kept by one of the master builders whose descendants left Iron Hammer City for human lands. Oleg tracked them to a blacksmith shop in Tuan City, only to find the dwarf family moved away 20 years ago. Destination unknown. Dead end. So the young chief's son traveled for months across the continent, hit a wall, and then heard his drinking buddy was in trouble nearby. The universe has timing. I made him 3 promises. 1. I'll use the Milan family network to find that missing blacksmith. 2. If that fails, I'll ask Dad to get Imperial mages to study the broken array. 3. When I'm strong enough, because I am an enchanter, just not good enough yet, I'll fix it myself. Then I showed him my 5 completed enchanted armor sets. Oleg's eyes went wide. He started examining the inscription work, praised my creative approach, and got genuinely excited. Dina just stood there going, I don't understand any of this, but enchanted stuff is expensive, right? Yes, Dina. Very expensive. Good contribution. Time to close the deal. I pulled out my legendary skill, the one I brought from my previous world. Not alchemy. Not magic. Painting the big picture. Oleg, stay 1 year. You forge the best equipment on the continent. I enchant it. Together we create gear that'll make history. His eyes were basically on fire. Dwarf craftsmen live for this stuff. Dina, I'll fund you to build your own mercenary company. Starting capital from me. I've got a few dozen ready-made fighters to give you as a foundation. Dina looked at Oleg, saw he was already in, and shrugged. Fine, but no promises it'll work. Here's the thing about Dina that makes him special. This man is a self-taught wild knight. Born a commoner, never served any noble, stumbled into battle aura awakening entirely on his own. No breathing technique, no teacher, no potion. Hit Justice Knight by 25. Now at 29, he's basically Glory Knight level. All with a garbage collection of random low-tier combat arts he scraped together over the years. The man is a prodigy running on junk fuel. Give him proper techniques and resources, and he'll be terrifying. And Oleg? His grandfather was a Saint Hammer warrior, dwarf equivalent of a Saint Knight. This kid has legendary bloodline and legendary crafting skills. He's just young and stuck because his people are isolationists who barely interact with humans. 1 week into production, and Oleg hasn't made a single finished piece. Just piles and piles of wrought iron and steel that don't meet his standards. He's spending all his time training apprentices and rejecting material quality. Meanwhile, I burned through 30 doses of medicine bribing Kofi to rush deliver premium iron ore. The man won't even start until the steel is perfect. Dwarf craftsmanship, everybody. No shortcuts, no compromises, no finished products. Just standards and my rapidly depleting patience. But when he does start, we're going to make equipment that'll make the entire continent lose its collective mind. Previous life, I sold people on business plans. This life, I'm selling a dwarf prince on a shared dream and a mercenary on a startup. Some skills are truly universal. The forge was humming along, but we were waiting on premium steel, so everyone was making farm tools in the meantime. Meanwhile, Oleg casually mentioned that at age 15, he could hand-forge 50 sets of dwarf iron armor per day, without using his breathing technique. With it, he estimated 100 sets of full human plate armor per day. I just stared at him. This man is a factory with a beard. I told him he has to demonstrate that for me someday. Then I did what I do best, threw money at the problem. Buy, build, get the best of everything. I commissioned a water-powered hammer forge by the river where the current runs fast. Kofi shipped the full equipment set and installation workers. My beloved criminal construction brigade got deployed again, 20 convicts hauling rocks under malicious supervision. Most of them had actually calmed down. My deal was simple. 3 years of hard work with no trouble equals freedom. One guy, little Mark, was thinking honestly. Free food, free housing, no more running and hiding. This isn't bad. Not everyone agreed, though. The Cass brothers, former highway robbers who'd been hiding in Herta after their gang got wiped, were plotting an escape. They had a plan. Smash a militiaman with a rock, grab his weapon, start a riot, run northwest to the Iz province. Big Cass was literally mid-swing when a massive convoy appeared on the horizon. Little Cass grabbed his brother and yanked him back, just in time. Nobody noticed their little murder attempt except little Mark, who filed that information away for later. The convoy was enormous. Dozens of wagons. 60 to 70 cavalry. Wolf-head crests on the lead riders. Silver plate armor. Lance on the back. Eagle territory reinforcements. From Dad. I'd gotten the letter 5 days ago and had been preparing. Lined up all 34 of my knights outside Herta. Had every important person in town present. Rolled out in my carriage looking as lordly as possible. Then I glanced back at my city gate, a lonely stone archway with nothing attached to it, and felt a wave of embarrassment. These people were coming from Eagle territory, one of the most powerful domains in the Empire, and my city looked like a camping trip that got out of hand. I could practically feel everyone reading my expression and mentally scheduling construction projects. City walls just jumped to the top of the to-do list. The convoy stopped. Everyone dismounted and lined up. Men did the fist-to-chest bow. Women crossed their hands and curtsied. In unison, young Master Hades, good day, the lead knight, Elvis, stepped forward. The Count has ordered us to assist you, young Master. 10 knights, 50 of the territory's finest young cavalrymen, families of Sir Alvin's group, plus our own families. The Count also says regarding your 30 newly knighted men, wait on relocating their families until you have proper land. And Elvis paused for effect. The Count says if you can produce another 50 knights, then the Milan family gaining a new territory and city in the Empire's northeast is perfectly acceptable. Dad, that man just told me, build me an army and I'll back you for an entire domain. That's not a father's encouragement. That's an investor's term sheet. I welcomed everyone warmly and got them moving into the housing I'd prepared. In the carriage, I opened the supply manifest Elvis handed me, and my eyes got bigger with every line. 200 doses of training medicines. Check. The crimson breathing technique, captured from an ancient Saxon kingdom noble family. A whole new breathing method for my knights. Check. Siberia crystals, my full annual allotment. The rarest energy source on the continent, and Dad just mailed them like a care package. Check. Gold essence. Mix it into steel to forge superior weapons. Enough for about 30 knight swords. Check. Northern bank checks totaling 100,000 gold coins. I already had money, but now I have money. Check. Transfer deed for a small iron mine at Ballon Fort in the Golden Pillar province. My own mine. Check. Over 20 ancient texts about the wasteland and girt forest. Dad actually went and collected research materials for my exploration project. Check. Then the personal stuff. Coffee, new tailored clothes, medicinal supplements, rare ingredients. Dad basically packed me a luxury survival kit. I was grinning like an idiot until I reached the last line. Two names, Barbara, Eileen. I felt like lightning struck my brain. Dad, Dad, you sent me reinforcements, weapons, money, a mine, ancient books, and luxury goods. All of that was perfect. But you also sent me two women? Who are these people? Are they maids? Are they candidates? Did my father just include marriage prospects in a military supply shipment like their line items between gold essence and coffee beans? This man fought a war against the Saxon kingdom. He commands the strongest knight order outside the imperial army, and he uses logistics convoys to play matchmaker. I can conquer the Northeast. I can build a knight order from scratch. I can forge enchanted weapons and brew legendary potions. But I am not prepared for whatever Dad just did with that last line on the list. Mulan family parenting, 60% military support, 30% financial backing, 10% ambush romance. Alvin's family arrived, including his grandson and his second son, the one he didn't want here. Quick family drama. Son number 2 fell in love with a farmer's daughter. Alvin said no. The farmer's family mysteriously moved away one night. Father-son relationship has been ice cold ever since. Alvin doesn't care though. He was a farmer's kid himself and clawed his way up to glory night. He refuses to watch his son throw that away for romance. Harsh. Yes. Wrong. Debatable. The man has opinions about social mobility. Elvis arrived too. Another glory knight, younger than Alvin by a decade. He did a rotation guarding the family in the capital a few years back, so I know him. The other 9 knights? Total strangers from various parts of Eagle territory. 6 justice knights and 3 brave knights. First big meeting. Stone fort. Long table. Packed room. Left side. Elvis closest to me. Then the 10 newcomers. Chelsea, Kenny, Locke, Randolph, Phoebe, Jerome, Lorian, Chris, Angus. Right side. Alvin, Hank, Heather, Raymond, then my homegrown knights, Ian, Spencer, Aaron, and 2 full rows of fresh brave knights behind them. Immediately, I spotted the problem. My original guys sat on one side. The new arrivals sat on the other. 2 factions forming before the first meeting even started. I had to literally convince 14 of my knights to move across the table and sit behind the newcomers just to break up the visual tribalism. They did not want to. But I'm the boss and I said, mix. Now, before the meeting I was chewing on something. My letter to Dad was short, just a greeting and a request to send the knights' families. But Dad's response showed he knew everything. The 30 cavalry awakening into knights. The tension with Tuan City. He sent iron, ore, gold essence, ancient books about the wasteland, stuff I never asked for but desperately needed. Someone is reporting to Dad. In detail. First suspect, Skin, my butler/childhood friend. But then I thought harder. The intel was too thorough for one source. Dad doesn't do things by halves. My conclusion? Everyone around me is a potential informant. Every knight. Every servant. Maybe even the old coachman with his creepy smile. I felt like I was peeing under a security camera. Very uncomfortable. But then I shrugged it off. Dad's intentions are good. His support is real. And if the price of 100,000 gold coins and 200 medicine doses is that Dad knows my daily schedule, fine. Spy on me all you want, old man. You're funding my conquest. Meeting time. I stood up, cleared my throat. Room went dead silent. And I delivered the speech of my life. Eagle territory is our home. But the empire isn't as strong as you think. Peace won't last. Outside our borders are enemies. Inside are hyenas waiting for one moment of weakness to rip us apart, enslave our families, and slaughter our people. The only answer is strength. Your lances, your swords, your honor. Every single one of you. Eagle territory is strong, but not enough. We need a second domain, one just as powerful, maybe more powerful. That is why I'm here. That is why you're here. I will hold nothing back. The best medicines, the best equipment, knight titles, your own lands. And I swear on my name, I will give you glory. A knight's glory. Someday, a knight order will rise from this place. It might be called the Crimson Knight Order. It will ride across the entire empire. The name Crimson will echo across the continent. All you have to do? Train, get stronger, and crush everything in our path. I was standing straight, chest out, voice ringing off the stone walls. And I watched it hit them. Even Alvin and Elvis, veterans who've seen and done everything, had fire in their eyes. Something old waking up. Knight's blood boiling. The room was nothing but heavy breathing and clenched fists. Outside, the cavalry and squires were pressed against the doorway, eyes blazing. Then, no words, no cheering, just fists slamming into chests. The knight's highest salute. A promise sealed with their lives. In this world, when a noble swears on his name, it's binding. You either fulfill it or die trying. And when knights answer with the chest salute, they're saying, I will follow you into death. This isn't corporate motivation. This is a blood OATH delivered over a conference table. Previous life, I gave quarterly presentations with PowerPoint slides. This life, I give speeches that make grown warriors cry and pledge their souls. Significant upgrade. After the meeting, the barracks fired up again. 50 fresh cavalrymen and 18 squires started awakening training. This time, everyone used the crimson breathing technique, the one Dad captured from Saxon kingdom nobility. One unified method, one unified order. My night factory just went from small batch artisanal to industrial scale. Oh, and about those two names at the bottom of Dad's supply list, Barbara and Eileen. I'm choosing to deal with that later. Much later. Preferably never. A man can only handle so many life-changing events per week. September, Imperial Year 497. Autumn's wrapping up and my territory looks like a frozen wasteland because we missed spring planting. Frost on the ground, dead grass everywhere, zero harvest. Great start to my agricultural empire. Sent 2 fresh knights on their first official mission, riding to Rosa City with my paperwork. I filed for territorial claim over everything. 10 miles west of Herda, 20 miles south, and the entire wasteland and girt forest to the north and east. Modest request, really. Just a few hundred square miles of wilderness, unexplored magical forest, and mysterious forbidden zones. Casual. The Empire has rules for pioneering claims. Must be unclaimed land, must pay taxes, must have permanent free citizens, must prove you can defend it. Then Imperial inspectors come verify everything. My letter to Dad basically said, please pull strings so the inspection is a formality, or as I put it, it's just a checkup. Let's make it a quick one. Night production update. Out of 78 cavalry and squires who attempted awakening between June and September, 48 succeeded. 36 cavalry, 12 squires. That's a 62% success rate on 3 attempts each. The 20 who didn't make it still got major physical upgrades and have experienced battle aura, so they might break through someday. I assigned them as the core of a future regular army. Anyone who can't handle watching their buddies become knights while they stay normal is free to go back to Eagle territory. I provide options, not therapy. Now for the Little Mark incident. Remember Little Mark? The teenage petty thief in my criminal construction brigade who noticed the Cass brothers plotting their escape? He actually went to Militia Captain Travis and reported it. Travis looked at this scrawny 14-year-old snitch and basically said, yeah right, kid, and had him shoot away. Because Travis is apparently allergic to useful intelligence. 3 days later, Waterhammer Forge completion day. 20 convicts heading back from the river. The Cass brothers attacked 2 militia guards, killed them, stole their weapons, and convinced 3 other convicts to run. 5 escapees bolting northwest into the wasteland. Travis, suddenly realizing that the teenager was right and he was an idiot, panicked about getting punished and sent word to my cavalry before chasing the escapees himself with 10 mounted militia. But my cavalry only sent 2 riders. Because 2 was enough. Both were newly minted brave knights on their first mission. The knights caught up to Travis's group and found them all just standing there, staring at Little Mark. This kid, scrawny, 15 years old, covered in blood, was holding 4 human heads wrapped in his bloody shirt, 2 in each hand, standing perfectly still, not speaking. Travis had been trying to question him and getting nothing. Apparently Mark escaped during the chaos, tracked down all 5 escapees, and personally killed 4 of them. A teenager. With what weapons? How? Nobody knows because he refused to talk to anyone except me. Knight Ian, my former squad leader, rode up and looked the blood-soaked boy in the eye. Mark demanded, I want to see the Lord. I'll only report to him. Ian, completely unfazed by the child serial killer in front of him, said flatly, you don't deserve that privilege. And what you did doesn't earn it either, ice cold. But correct. You don't get an audience with the Lord by going rogue, even if you did solve the problem. There are channels, Mark. Channels. They brought him back. The other knight kept his hand on his sword the entire time, ready to cut Mark down if he twitched funny. Smart precaution around a kid who just collected 4 heads like baseball cards. Alvin reported the minor incident to me later. I told him I'd meet the boy when I had time, because I love a useful psychopath. But I had bigger things on my plate. 3 months of building and producing had stacked up results. The warehouse was bursting with enough farm tools for 20,000 farmers. Weapons production was rolling. Oleg personally forged 20 knight swords with gold essence, premium blades that would make any knight drool. His apprentices cranked out shields for the 50 Beetle warriors, who now looked incredible. Leather armor, big beards, shield in the left hand, axe in the right. Walking Viking album covers. I saw them lined up and literally said, "Nice" out loud. City planning was ongoing. Construction never stopped. My criminal labor force, minus 5 escapees and 4 decapitated runners, was still building. The water hammer forge was operational. Blacksmith apprentices were learning under Oleg's demanding standards. Oh, and the 5th escapee? The one Mark didn't catch? Ian rode out alone to sweep the wasteland and presumably handled it, because nobody ever mentioned a 5th fugitive again. Knights are efficient like that. Travis, meanwhile, was probably lying awake at night thinking about how a teenager did his job better than his entire militia. Maybe listen to informants next time, buddy. Even the scrawny ones. Especially the scrawny ones who turn out to be tiny murder machines. October. I got a letter from the capital, and it contained 3 beautiful words. Baron Hades Milan. Dad pulled it off. Whatever backroom deals, favors, and probably mountains of gold he burned through, I don't know, and I don't want to know. The Empire's upper crust all think Count Wright lost his mind spoiling his useless youngest son with a barony in the middle of nowhere. Let them think that. Please, continue underestimating me. It's my favorite advantage. My territory is now officially called Moonlight Fortress. Heard a city got renamed to Rhine City. Sounds way better. Lord of Moonlight Fortress, Baron of Rhine City, versus that guy in the dump town. Significant upgrade. The official borders include 10 miles west, 20 miles south, and, here's the genius part, the entire wasteland and girt forest. The imperial bigwigs approved it because to them, those areas are worthless human forbidden zones. Sure kid, have your monster forest, nobody cares. Perfect. Because legally, whatever I find or build in there now belongs to me. Even the emperor can't dispute it. Dad basically bought me legal ownership of the continent's biggest untapped resource zone, and the bill was labeled Useless Wilderness. Annual tax, 500 gold. That's nothing. I spent more than that on coffee last month. Time to pay Dad back. I sent 20 enchanted plate armor sets and 20 enchanted longswords to the capital with Hank's escort team. 200 awakening potions went to Eagle territory with Elvis and Heather. Enchanted gear that doesn't exist on the open market plus enough potions to create 200 new knights. Dad, wasted money getting me a barony. I'm repaying him with a strategic arsenal that money literally can't buy. Meanwhile, Rhine City was actually becoming a city. North District, original residents, 200 households. I built a textile workshop and WOM recruited over 100 women to work there. They're turning the leather and cotton shipments into winter clothing, which Skin sells cheap at his new clothing shop. The workers get a free set. I called it employee benefits. They don't know what that means. They just think I'm a nice lord. Both things can be true. West District, about 100 households of immigrant merchants and small business owners. Expanding steadily. Central District, formerly the lawless hellhole where criminals, mercenaries, and brothels coexisted and bodies got tossed into the street on the regular. I cleaned it out. Resistors became tree ornaments. Serious criminals got executed. Minor offenders joined my beloved construction brigade. Mercenaries got consolidated under Dina's command and relocated to the new Moonlight Fortress Mercenary Guild in the South District. My favorite policy addition? Mercenary licensing. You want to take jobs in my territory? Get a mercenary practice certificate first. Bureaucracy as a weapon. Beautiful. The brothel got reformed. Every working girl needs a health certificate from the designated clinic. They're under my protection. No violence. No human trafficking. Elena was so enthusiastic she called me an angel sent by the gods and the savior of all the girls. I pretended to be offended and put on my serious gentleman face. Inside, little bit pleased. Just a little. Central Street was now an actual commercial district. Wom's Tavern, skins, leather, and clothing shops. A weapons store I opened under Oleg's name, Gigi Weapons Shop. Travis, the militia captain, literally invested his life savings into a farm tool shop that buys inventory from me. Once Skin opened his businesses, everyone else panicked and jumped in. Knights started buying storefronts. Local bosses grabbed whatever was left. Alvin opened Eagle Territory Goods, exclusively selling coffee beans. Elvis retaliated by opening 2 inns on opposite ends of the street. These old knights were having a retail war, and it was the funniest thing I'd seen in months. South District got new walls extending 500 meters out, with a big open space inside the gates for merchant caravans to park and unload. Population update. About 500 free citizens and small traders arrived between March and October. Almost half chose to stay permanently. Most came after September when word about Baron Hades and Moonlight Fortress started spreading. The trickle is becoming a stream, and Rhine City got its first mayor, Alvin's eldest son, Thomas. The man had been apprenticing under the city lord of Long River Town for 3 years. Alvin recommended him, and I wrote a letter to the Long River Town lord, a woman named Futchel who I apparently called Annie enough times that she went into a daze and handed Thomas over without fully processing what happened. Diplomacy. Thomas walked into my stone fort looking cold and skeptical. 30 minutes later, he walked out beaming with enthusiasm and went straight to the mayor's office. I don't know what I said to him. Actually, I do. I showed him the plans, the resources, the trajectory. This city is going from 3,000 nobodies to a regional powerhouse. Any ambitious administrator would kill for this opportunity. Alvin couldn't figure out what happened. He punched 3 wooden training posts to splinters trying to understand how his perpetually rebellious son suddenly became a model employee. Welcome to my management style, old man. I don't just recruit knights. I recruit believers. Alvin's whole family now lives in Rhine City. His estate back in Eagle Territory is being watched by an old knight buddy. Full commitment. All in. November is my official ennoblement ceremony in the capital. Skin suggested leaving in 5 days, enough time to reach Rosa City before the ceremony without rushing through northern snowstorms. Smart plan. That gives me 5 days to handle remaining business. 500 gold annual tax. A territory that legally includes a magical forest. A city with shops, walls, a mayor, and a mercenary guild. 78 new knights. Enchanted weapons going to Dad as a thank you gift. A weapons store called Gigi, mercenary licensing. 7 months ago, I arrived at a lawless dump with 30 cavalry and a dream. Now I'm Baron Hades of Moonlight Fortress, and I haven't even started exploring the Girt Forest yet. The tutorial level is over. Real game starts now. Big day. Biggest day. The stone fort couldn't fit 80+ knights, so I set up a wooden platform in the South District and let the whole city watch. Public ceremony. Maximum spectacle. First up, Alvin. I read his entire life story out loud from the official document. Born in Stone Tower Village, Imperial year 446. Learned hunting at 7. Studied under a cleric at 10. Combat training at 12. Squiring at 14. Polishing armor. Feeding horses. Carrying bags. Mastered riding and swordsmanship at 15. Full squire at 16. Fought in the Saxon campaign at 20. Knighted at 24. Got his own land at 27. 45 years of grinding condensed into 1 paragraph. Then the good stuff. I, Lord of Moonlight Fortress, grant Sir Alvin the domain of Wheatfield Village. 2 personal attendants, 1 household servant, 1 ceremonial attendant. Rights of inheritance designation, land transfer, jury judgment, investigation, pursuit, detention, and direct appeal, plus 1 full enchanted armor set, 1 enchanted longsword, 3 awakening potions, 5 training medicines, and 100 gold coins. Alvin knelt on the ceremony stool. I stamped the document with my steel name seal, took the enchanted sword from Skin, tapped Alvin's shoulders 3 times with the flat of the blade, and handed it to him. He raised it overhead with 1 hand and began the oath. I shall uphold the knight's code for life. I swear to protect the weak. I swear to stand against tyranny. I swear to fight all that is wrong. I swear to defend the defenseless. I swear to aid all who seek my help. I swear to harm no woman. I swear to stand by my brother knights. I swear to be true to my friends. I swear faithfulness unto death to those I love. I, Alvin Paul, pledge loyalty to my lord, Hades Rita Keegan Biondi Mulan, faithful and unwavering, never to leave his side. 80 people standing in dead silence while a 45-year-old veteran warrior swore a blood oath to a 20-year-old who can't even use a sword. I had chills, and I'm the one running the ceremony. Elvis went next, got Greenleaf Village. Same package, same oath. Then 8 more Justice Knights, each getting their own domain. Alvin, Elvis, and Arsa got the bigger villages with actual populations. The other 8 got tiny settlements with 2 or 3 farming families. What they do with those specks of territory is their problem. I provide the land, they provide the ambition. Then 73 brave knights stepped up for a group ceremony. Each got 1 training potion, 50 gold, and 2 squire slots. I also made promises that got them fired up. Major contributions to the territory? Land. Important military achievements? Land. Complete a critical mission? Land. Basically, do cool stuff, get dirt. Simple incentive structure. Cavalry got 2 extra war horses each, a spare set of plate armor with weapons, and 10 gold. 30 city defense infantry selected from the militia got plate armor and 5 gold. The 50 Betel warriors? I gave them an actual plot in the South District as their permanent base, which meant they finally moved out of the old slave camp. Watching 50 axe-wielding bearded giants celebrate getting a neighborhood was deeply entertaining. Speaking of the slave camp, I converted it into Rhine City's official way station. Rest stop, horse feeding, traveler services. And Green, the guy who killed his old boss ORL for me, he's completely out of the slave business now. I renamed his operation the Moonlight Fortress Relief Squad. Their job is to rescue people from around the region and bring them to my territory. The pay scale is beautiful. Rescue a slave, 10 silver per head. Rescue a free citizen, 30 silver. Rescue a serf, 1 gold. Because pulling someone off a lord's farm is harder. Rescue a free farmer, 1 gold 25 silver. Rescue a craftsman, 2 gold. Rescue a knight, 10 gold. Condition: the rescued person must voluntarily stay for at least a month. I also gave the relief squad 50 light draft horses for transport. This is absolutely not poaching other lords' populations. This is humanitarian aid. Very different. Completely legal. Don't look at me like that. Elena got her rewards privately because I'm not announcing my relationship with a brothel owner at a formal knighting ceremony. I have an image. Last night, I sent Skin with a message. I'm funding brothel renovations, giving her 30 gold, and officially appointing her as my Intelligence Bureau Chief. Her job description, which I explained in detail: open brothels in Tuan City, then expand to every major city in the Golden Pillar province. All new girls get background checks and training. While entertaining clients, they note any useful information mentioned. A designated recorder collects the intel, sends it to Rhine City HQ, and Elena compiles reports. I'm assigning 2 maids to help, and she'll train more staff. Any piece of intelligence that gets used earns the girl who provided it a bonus. I basically just invented a medieval intelligence network powered by brothels. The CIA wishes they'd thought of this first. Elena didn't even attend today's ceremony. She left for Tuan City at dawn to start setting up. That woman is more motivated than half my knights. She genuinely believes she's my most loyal follower, and honestly, she might be right. Wam's people, the original residents, got the most crowd-pleasing rewards. Women got good jobs at the textile workshop. Men got new opportunities everywhere. And the children? I announced the founding of Rhine City's first public school, open to all residents of the territory. Name: Hades' first public school. Yeah, I named it after myself. It's my city. I'll name things however I want. Even the criminal construction squad got a 1-week vacation with supervised shopping trips. Budget: 20 copper coins each. Enough for exactly 2 cups of wheat beer. Generous? No. But compared to building stuff for free while chained up, it's basically Christmas. The moment I announced the school was open to everyone, not just nobles, not just free citizens, everyone, the crowd erupted. People in their new warm clothes from the textile workshop, with coins actually jingling in their pockets for the first time, screaming my name at the top of their lungs. 7 months ago, these people didn't have a lord. Now they have a lord who gives them jobs, warm clothes, protection, fair laws, health certificates for workers, a school for their kids, and heads on trees for anyone who causes trouble. Hades, Hades, Hades. I stood on that wooden platform listening to a few thousand people chant my name and thought, this is how you build a kingdom, not with swords, not with gold, not even with enchanted armor. With loyalty. The swords and gold and armor just make sure nobody takes it away. Let me tell you about education in this empire, because it explains why I just did something revolutionary. For types of schools exist. Church schools, where the light God religion teaches kids to read, then immediately drowns them in theology. Costs, divine offerings, aka gold. Palace schools, 8 subjects including swordsmanship and astronomy, exclusively for royals and noble kids. Regular people? Don't even look at the door. Noble schools, set up by local lords, theoretically open to everyone, practically only for rich kids because the tuition is insane. And finally, private tutoring, the classical education where nobles hire personal teachers. One-on-one luxury learning. That last one was MY education. Languages, math, logic, etiquette, literature, poetry, music, astronomy, military theory, history, governance, political scheming, the full buffet. When I couldn't awaken as a knight, I swapped combat training for magic and alchemy. Then I read every single book in the Mulan family's capital library over 8 years. Also learned attack magic that I've never shown anyone except my old court mage teacher. Surprise tool for later. Now introducing Option 5, Hades' first public school. Open to all residents of Moonlight Fortress. Ages 8 to 16. Tuition, 1/3 of a normal noble school, paid by me up front. Repaid over 10 years with 0 interest. Housing provided. Can't afford living expenses? I'll cover those too. Same terms. 0 interest. Phase 1. 5 years of language, imperial history, and knight's code. Phase 2. 2.5 years of electives. Military theory, governance, construction, blacksmithing, horsemanship, weapons, cooking, trade, farming, ceremonial arts. Teachers include former noble school instructors, the current city mayor, retired cavalry, craftsmen, and experienced farmers. I'm not building a school. I'm building a talent pipeline. Now, about money in this world. Let me put things in perspective because the numbers I throw around might sound fake. 1 copper coin buys roughly what $1 would. 1 silver equals about 60 to 80 bucks. 1 gold coin, $3,000. A cup of the worst beer costs 10 copper. A Friedrich war horse runs 100 to 150 gold. That's $500,000 for a horse. My enchanted carriage? For 1,000 gold. Over $12 million. I ride around in a vehicle worth more than some lord's entire territories. My medicines and enchanted gear? Priceless. Literally no market price because nobody else can make them. That's why Kofi treats me like a living god. I'm his only supplier of something every knight on the continent desperately wants. Breathing techniques and combat arts? Not for sale at any price. Selling those would be like a government selling its nuclear codes. It's the foundation of power itself. 70% of the population are farmers and serfs. Basic food is dirt cheap. Anything requiring craftsmanship is expensive because there aren't enough craftsmen. Knowledge gets hoarded or dies with its holders. Noble luxury goods? Marked up beyond all reason. Coffee, jewelry, formal wear, status symbols with status prices. And supernatural items like enchanted equipment or Siberia crystals. Not measured in gold at all. Traded through pure barter at the highest levels. Speaking of which, Dad's bill for my barony. I didn't know the full cost until someone mentioned it, but apparently he paid. 1% of the Mulan families. Entire Siberia crystal reserves, 1 breathing technique, several combat arts, dozens of night potions, rare minerals, and 5 years of revenue from a family business somewhere in the empire. 1% of the crystal reserves. For a barren title in the middle of nowhere. Every noble in the empire thinks he lost his mind. If I'd known the price, I would have put my hand on his shoulder and said, "Relax, old man. Give me 3 years and I'll earn it all back, because I have a pocket dimension full of medicines nobody else can make, enchanted gear nobody else can forge, and a plan to crack open a magical forest full of beast cores that could replace Siberia crystals entirely." Dad didn't overpay. Dad made the investment of the century. He just doesn't know it yet. Before leaving Rhine City, I handed my new mayor Thomas the castle blueprints and a check for 150,000 gold coins. Nothing says, "I trust you," like giving a guy more money than most nobles see in a lifetime and saying, "Build me a fortress. The new Moonlight Castle is going to be a beast." Takes up most of the East District, swallows the old cavalry barracks, and extends into the stone slopes. Semi-military design inspired by Grand Duke Purtis's steel fortress, just slightly smaller because I'm not insane. Yet, double walls on the east side. Western approach has open killing fields, trenches, and a single bridge. Good luck attacking that. Battlements, square towers at every corner and wall midpoint, internal halls, warehouses, hidden bunkers. North side gets a horse yard and training ground. South side, my private garden and herb garden, protected by extra high walls and 2 watchtowers. Because a man needs his quiet time among poisonous plants. Interior can house 2,000 soldiers when needed. The rest is my living and working space. A lord needs room to scheme. To fund this, I sold another batch of medicines to Kofi, 100 low-grade, 50 mid-grade, and 10 awakening potions. Kofi offered 150,000 gold, 10,000 more than last time's rates. The man mortgaged his entire business to a bank to get the money, handed me a box of checks the next day, and started auctioning medicines immediately. Results: 80 low-grade potions averaged 120 gold each. 45 mid-grade went for 1,100 each. And the 5 awakening potions? 7,000 gold each as the grand finale. Kofi paid off his loan with 500 gold interest the next day. 1/3 of that interest went to the Milan family because we co-own the Northern Bank. So I'm literally profiting from my own buyer's loan. Beautiful circular economics. Kofi kept some potions for his own sons. His second boy already awakened into a brave knight with 1 dose. His third son is training under Count Darian's knight. Kofi can smell the class upgrade coming. His family is 1 generation from nobility. Count Darian's people keep trying to recruit Kofi, but the smart merchant is looking east. At me. Good instinct, Kofi. Construction workforce for the castle. 500 hired builders from Tuan City, 300 local volunteers, 200 purchased slaves, plus all available blacksmiths and carpenters, 20 landless brave knights, and 30 city defense infantry for security. Thomas handles everything. Alvin holds down Rhine City. Now the detour. We were heading to the capital for my ennoblement ceremony, traveling through the Crew Highlands, when I changed course. Because little Mark asked me for something, and what he told me was a story. Full name, Mark Harold Spin. 15 years old. Spin is his mother's name. His father was Baron Thurs Ristinger Lahane, former lord of Peg territory in the Cao province. Mark is a nobleman's bastard son. 2 years ago, Baron Thurs suddenly died. The provincial peace officer investigated. The Baron's wife and legitimate children said he accidentally overdosed on strengthening medicine. Officer found medicine residue in his mouth. Case almost closed. Then a woman and a boy showed up, Mark's mother and Mark. They presented a short sword engraved with the Baron's full name, given to Mark by his father. And they told the real story. The Baroness, the Baron's eldest son, and the butler conspired to murder the Baron. They threatened a servant girl's mother's life to force the girl to poison the Baron's morning coffee. Ironic since my family basically invented the stuff, with an odorless, colorless alchemical toxin that slowly destroys organs and blood over weeks until the body just stops. Mark's mother had a witness too, the rescued servant girl, who was too sick to travel. The peace officer was convinced. He told them to wait while he got his horse. By the time he turned around, mother and son had vanished. He tracked them to their home, burned to the ground overnight. Accidental fire, conveniently contained so nobody else was hurt. The officer smelled murder, reported it to the Empire. Imperial bureaucracy kicked in. 2 months of paperwork and approvals. Then the investigation team, a royal enforcer, an imperial judge, and a noble assembly representative, took another month to arrive. By then, everything was quiet. Mark's mother and the servant girl? Gone. No witnesses. No evidence. Case went cold. And somewhere in the chaos, a 13-year-old bastard son lost everything. His father, his mother, his home, and ended up as a teenage thief in Herta City's criminal population, where he eventually joined my construction brigade, reported an escape attempt that nobody listened to, and then personally decapitated 4 fugitives in a wasteland. I gave him 1 day to handle whatever business he has in the Cao province. He knelt face down in the weed in front of my carriage. I'd already closed the curtain. Skin looked at the boy kneeling in the dirt and said softly, "Get up." The young master gave his word. "He'll keep it. But how you handle this is your decision." Mark stood up, looked back at my carriage once, mounted his horse, returned to the escort formation. 15 years old, bastard son, orphaned by conspiracy, hardened by survival, capable of killing 4 grown men barehanded. And now he rides with me. This kid is either going to become the most dangerous knight on the continent or the most terrifying intelligence operative I've ever created. Either way, I'm investing. So here's what Mark told me. And let me warn you, this story goes from dark to darker too. I need a drink. The Baroness sent assassins to silence Mark's mother and the witness servant girl. Standard noble move. Except the assassins found a 15-year-old boy who killed them instead. A 15-year-old LD. These grown men with weapons got reverse sunoed by a teenager. Mark grabbed his mom and the servant girl and ran. The servant girl died on the road. Then for days, mother and son dodged more killers. One night, Mark collapsed from exhaustion. When he woke up, his mother was gone. He found her body hanging from a display frame. Publicly executed. What the Baroness did to her before that. I'm not repeating it. I've seen ugly things in 2 lifetimes, and what that woman did was evil in its purest form. The kind of cruelty that exists only to prove someone's power over another person. Mark heard every detail from the Baroness's own mouth later, because she was proud of it. That night, a 13-year-old boy walked into the Baron's castle with a short sword his dead father had given him. First kill, the butler. Sitting in the hall, drinking the late Baron's coffee. Mark came up behind him, opened his throat, then put the blade through his heart. Butler died on the floor with his eyes wide open. Poetic. You killed the man whose coffee you're drinking, and his son killed you while you drank it. Mark knocked out a male servant, changed into his clothes, and started going room to room. Room 1, room 2, room 3. His 2 half-brothers and his half-sister. Done. The sister told him where the Baroness slept before she died. Small mercy? Deathbed cooperation? Who knows? He went downstairs to the master bedroom, his father's room, the room his mother always dreamed of living in. Sounds from inside made it clear the Baroness and her eldest son were occupied, which also explained why so few servants were around. Mark kicked the door in. What followed was brutal and fast. The eldest son charged him naked, caught a blade across the forearm, then got beaten to death with bare fists. Chest caved in, face rearranged, neck crushed. Mark threw the short sword into the Baroness's shoulder, pinning her to the bed. She didn't beg. She taunted him, called his mother every slur in the book, described in sickening detail what she'd done to her, was literally smiling about it while bleeding on white goose-down sheets. Mark slapped her until her face was unrecognizable. Guards finally arrived outside the door, shouting at him to surrender. The Baroness's expression flickered, relief. Rescue. Her bloody lips started to curl upward. Then Mark pulled the short sword from her shoulder and put it through her throat. The Baron's name engraved on that blade was the last thing she saw. Entire family. Butler. All dead. One kid with a knife. The peace officer from before managed to keep Mark alive by telling everyone to wait for the Imperial investigation team. 2 months of bureaucracy later, the team arrived and held a public trial. Verdict on the original murder. Baron was indeed poisoned. Butler, death sentence, no redemption. Baroness and eldest son, death sentence, redeemable. Daughter and second son, exile, redeemable. Participating servants, exile, no redemption. All academic, since everyone was already dead. Then came Mark's trial. Private room. For officials. Mark in chains. 3 different people offered 3 different deals, and every single one was a scam designed to steal Peg territory. Guy number 1. Sipping coffee like this was casual. Renounce. Your inheritance. Compensate the dead eldest son with Peg territory. Walk free as a commoner. Translation. Give us your land for nothing. We turn it into a royal domain. Guy number 2. Fancy embroidered clothes. Sign Peg territory over to the Empire. We'll manage it for 20 years while you sit in prison. Then you can inherit it back. Translation. 20 years in a cell, and they'll never give it back. Guy number 3, silver plate armor, standing up dramatically. As a quasi-noble, your sentence is reduced to life imprisonment. Peg territory becomes imperial land. The people will be protected by the empire. Translation: same theft, different wrapping paper. They gave him 1 day to choose which flavor of getting robbed he preferred. 3 imperial officials. 3 proposals. All ending with, and we take your land. The empire's justice system, ladies and gentlemen, where the murder victim's son gets punished and the real estate gets redistributed to whoever sent the investigators. A 13-year-old lost his father to poison, his mother to torture, killed everyone responsible, and his reward was 3 men in a room competing over who gets to steal his inheritance. And that's how a baron's son ended up as a nameless teenage criminal in Herta City's construction brigade. Until he met me. I gave him 1 day in the Cao province. I don't know exactly what he's planning to do with that day. But I know this kid killed 4 escaped convicts with his bare hands, killed an entire noble family at 13, and hasn't flinched once since I've known him. Whatever happens in Peg territory tomorrow, I suspect it won't be boring. So Mark's story has a 4th chapter, and it involves the one honest cop in the entire empire. Mantos, peace officer for the Quincy district in Cao province. The man graduated from the Imperial First Academy full of fire and ideals, passed the Night Watch Union selection, trained for 2 years in the capital, and got shipped to the southern noble territories to dispense justice. 5 years later, multiple nobles filed complaints and had him transferred to Cao province. Because nothing says, you're doing your job too well, like getting exiled by the people you're supposed to police. He thought Cao would be better. It was just a different flavor of corruption. 15 years as a peace officer. 2 employees, 1 for paperwork, 1 for mail. Meanwhile, his former classmates were living in mansions with private armies funded by grateful nobles. Mantos had a desk and his principals. Not great for the retirement fund. Most peace officers in this empire have been bought. They twist facts, protect guilty nobles, and collect bags of gold. They went from having just investigation powers to having full arrest and case-closing authority, which means a corrupt peace officer is basically a legal hitman for whoever pays the most. But Mantos? Still clean, still lonely, still stubborn. The night after 3 imperial officials offered Mark 3 different flavors of, give us your land and rot, Mantos walked into the kid's cell. I'm giving you a 4th option, run. Survive. Take back Peg territory. Become a lord. Make sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. I want to see a Peg territory that follows the law and has a heart. Not another place where the bottom drowns in despair and the top worships gold. Then he walked Mark out of prison, told the guards that any consequences were on him, escorted the boy through the night to the edge of the Crew Highlands, and pointed him toward 3 destinations: Rosa City, the Steel Fortress, or Eagle territory. Mantos went back alone, got caught by pursuit riders, dragged back to Peg territory, stood in front of the 3 officials, and said with zero hesitation, yes, I released the prisoner. I've already reported this case to the Night Watch Union headquarters. Absolute legend. The man torpedoed his career, his freedom, and ultimately his life for a kid he barely knew, because it was the right thing to do. 2 months later, the Empire traded Mantos's career for temporary control of Peg territory, managed by the Imperial Parliament for 3 years, after which it becomes Imperial property if no legitimate heir shows up. Translation: they got what they wanted and got rid of the honest cop. Mantos was fired 3 months later. Found dead in his Quincy City home 6 months after that. Found dead. Sure. A peace officer who embarrassed 3 Imperial officials and exposed their land grab just happened to die in his own home. Absolutely no foul play there. None whatsoever. This world EATS, it's good people. 14-year-old Mark walked north along the Crew Highlands. Got captured by bandits, which accidentally saved him from the pursuit teams. Sold as a slave to a Golden Pillar province trader. Bought by a small-time mercenary leader as a servant. The merc died a year later on a job. His 8-man crew disbanded, and nobody wanted the scrawny teenage baggage. Mark drifted east on rumors alone until he reached Herta City, told everyone he was wanted for theft, and settled into the criminal quarter. For a year, he secretly practiced with the battle aura he'd naturally awakened. No teacher, no breathing technique, just raw talent and willpower. His aura conversion was terrible without proper training, so any real brave knight would wreck him in a fair fight. But the aura had hardened his body way beyond normal human limits. That's how a skinny kid killed the Cass brothers in the wasteland. Not skill, not technique, just a body that's been soaking in battle aura for a year and a mind that absolutely does not fear death. He and I had a very simple conversation in the stone fort. His request: help him reclaim Peg territory. My price: he becomes my personal guard knight, and Peg territory operates as a satellite territory of Moonlight Fortress. Taxes, resources, population contributions, and military command during wartime all flow to me. In return, I provide military backing, the Mulan family's political influence to clear imperial obstacles, gold, armed personnel, technology, trade goods, and the most important thing of all, legitimacy. Mark signed the contract with his full name and a bloody handprint. Skin notarized it. Deal done. I just acquired a future baron and his territory for the price of one teenager's loyalty. If Dad's investment style is throw money at problems, mine is collect broken people with enormous potential and give them a reason to live, cheaper and more effective. Now, my convoy to the capital. Elvis commanding. 7 Justice Knights, including Raymond. 2 squads of brave knights led by Chris and Ian, 20 total. Outer ring of militia cavalry and veteran non-knight riders. Arsa riding silently next to my carriage as my shadow. Nobody in the convoy knows what Arsa actually is. He doesn't talk to people. Both the Elvis faction and the Alvin faction eye him suspiciously, but can't figure him out. Perfect. A mystery bodyguard is twice as effective as a known one. And behind my carriage, a second carriage. For women inside. 2 of them are the names from the bottom of Dad's supply list. Barbara and Eileen. They're here. In the convoy. This entire trip to the capital, they've been riding 20 feet behind me, and I have been aggressively pretending they don't exist. I can negotiate 87,000 gold deals without blinking. I can order executions over breakfast. I can give speeches that make veteran warriors pledge their lives. But 2 women my father sent. Head in the sand. Ostrich mode. Maximum avoidance. Hades Mulan. Conqueror of the Northeast. Builder of armies. Terrified of whatever Dad's matchmaking department cooked up. Some battles you just aren't ready for. Okay, fine. Let's talk about Barbara and Eileen. The 2 names from Dad's supply list that I've been aggressively ignoring. Barbara, my childhood mate/companion. Dad assigned her to me when I was 10 and she was 16. We were basically best friends. In private, I treated her as an equal. Everything was great and innocent until puberty happened, and suddenly sharing a bathtub with an 18-year-old woman became extremely awkward. We used to bathe together, naked, until I was 12, and we shared a bed until I was 14. I am 20 years old, and I still cannot look this woman in the eye without my soul leaving my body. At 22 she got reassigned to Eagle Territory 4, discreet work. Translation: she became an assassin and spy for the family. But every time we visited Eagle Territory for ancestor ceremonies, she'd show up in a pristine white maid dress, smiling warmly, serving little Hades tea like she was still his innocent caretaker. I had no idea she was a professional killer. I just knew her as the woman who saw me naked approximately 400 times during my formative years. And Dad shipped her to my frontier territory. Thanks, Father. Really helpful. Nothing awkward about having your childhood bath buddy show up at your military outpost. Eileen, Auntie Eileen, is a completely different emotional wound. She was my mother's personal maid. Born into a fallen minor noble family, spent 12 years being dragged around by desperate parents until Mom found them literally trying to sell her. Mom paid triple the asking price, rescued little Eileen, and asked, "Do you want to go home or be free?" 12-year-old Eileen whispered, "I want to stay with you." She became Mom's shadow. When I was born a year later, Eileen helped raise me. For the first 10 years of my life, she was my second mother. Then the assassination happened. Mom died at the Windsor River. 50 cavalry dead. 2 glory knights dead. Dozens of other knights dead. Most servants dead. I got a sword through the heart, and somehow survived after being rushed back to the capital. Eileen took a diagonal slash from right shoulder to left hip and passed out in a pool of blood. A field pharmacist saved her. After recovering, the grief of losing Mom broke her. She volunteered to manage the family castle in Eagle territory. Never married. 20 years old when it happened. She's 30 now. Spent a decade running a castle and mourning a woman who saved her life. When both of them heard I was playing Frontier Lord in some frozen nowhere, they demanded to come take care of me. Dad, who has the emotional intelligence of a war horse, said, "Sure, go ahead," without considering that maybe warning me would have been nice. So yeah, my childhood bathing companion who's secretly an assassin, and my surrogate mother who carries 20 years of grief, both riding in the carriage behind mine, both determined to take care of me. I've been speed running past every rest stop because if I slow down, I'll have to actually interact with them. Now, Peg territory. Mark's business. I vetoed 3 separate city stops and pushed the convoy through snowfall until we reached Peg territory at nightfall. The place has about 10,000 people. Compared to Old Herta City, it's practically a metropolis. Actual walls, actual gates, actual farmland visible even under snow. The main town is called Lena. Current situation, Baron Thurs is dead, his whole family is dead, and a committee of 4 imperial appointees is babysitting the territory from the Baron's castle. A new peace officer, a noble assembly representative, a royal enforcement knight, and an imperial judge. The old knight commander Akaran is maintaining order in Lena with 20 militia. 4 landed knights still technically belong to Peg territory, but answer to nobody. 3 other knights already defected to other nobles. The place is a headless chicken running on inertia. The militia guarding the gates at night were 2 farmers in layered rags and leather chest plates, warming themselves by fire barrels with their spears leaning against the wall. When my advance riders appeared out of the darkness, 4 men in gleaming silver plate armor on war horses, lance tips catching firelight. 1 guard nearly collapsed from fear. He was shaking so hard his spear was vibrating. The other one sprinted into the city to get help. My rider announced, "We are cavalry of Moonlight Fortress. Our lord is passing through and requires lodging for the night. Open the gates and notify your superiors." The trembling guard kept looking over his shoulder waiting for backup, standing alone in front of 4 armored horsemen, probably rethinking every life choice that led him to the night shift. Then more torchlight appeared behind him, the main column approaching. Dozens of horses, the sound of an army. Finally, a warm hand landed on the guard's shoulder. Knight Commander Akaran had arrived with the militia, cavalry in his face, saved by his boss showing up. 4 silver riders at the gate, 60 more behind them. And somewhere in that convoy, a 15-year-old boy who killed everyone in the Baron's castle is riding back to the scene of the crime under the protection of a baron whose family could crush this entire province without breaking a sweat. Mark's homecoming, and nobody in Lena knows it yet. On the ride to Peg territory, I had Mark trained up. Elvis gave him combat pointers. Chelsea taught him knight fundamentals. I handed him the crimson breathing technique and 2 beginner combat arts. Kid went from dangerous street rat to dangerous street rat with proper technique in a few days. Significant upgrade. I also needed to leave people behind to help Mark hold things down. I called over my 3 original squad leaders, Ian, Spencer, and Aaron. Peg territory is half hours after this. I'm staying 2 days max before heading to the capital. Mark can't handle everything alone. Elvis recommended Knight Lorinov from his side. "I want one of you to stay too." Volunteers, all 3 stepped forward. Of course they did. Only one. "I've got other jobs for the rest of you. Don't get comfortable." Aaron trotted his horse forward without a word. We shared a look. "Counting on you, Aaron." He put his fist to his chest and said, a little boldly, "Rest easy, Baron." Nobody corrected the title. Every knight within earshot heard it and quietly filed it away. Baron. Not, young master. Not, Lord. Baron. The future tastes good. We reached Lena City at night. Snow everywhere. 2 militia guards by the gate nearly had heart attacks when 4 of my silver-armored riders materialized out of the blizzard. One guy was trembling so hard his spear was basically a vibrating stick. Then the real welcome committee arrived. Knight Commander Akaran. Old man. 60-something. Justice Knight. Not wearing armor in a snowstorm because apparently he's too tough for weather. He dismounted and sized up my advance riders. Noted the suspiciously high-quality gear. Noticed the faint battle aura around them, and correctly concluded, these are not normal cavalry. Elvis dismounted, planted his sword point down, opened his visor, and gave the proper knight's greeting. A Karen removed his hat and returned it. Textbook etiquette between knights. Weapons pointed at the ground, hat off if in civilian clothes, not if mounted. This world has more greeting protocols than a Japanese business meeting. Elvis introduced himself politely. Moonlight Fortress. Just passing through. Need lodging for one night. A Karen's response was magnificent in its bluntness. Welcome, Sir Elvis. I'm the former knight commander of Peg Territory. I'm keeping order here temporarily. If you're just resting for the night, I'll arrange everything immediately. But if you're here for the territory, I can't let you in. The imperial envoys are at the castle to the south. Take it up with them. The people of Lena should not be dragged into political games. In noble circles, talking like that would get you labeled crude and low-born. But old Karen said it anyway, breath steaming in the cold air. A 60-year-old justice knight who knows he can't stop a glory knight and an army, standing in the snow telling them to their face. Not on my watch. I respect that, truly, but I don't have time for a standoff. From inside my carriage, I gave a quiet instruction. A young rider moved forward, lifted his visor, and smiled. Knight Commander Karen. Long time no see. The old man froze. Stared. Then his eyes went wide. He looked from Mark to Elvis to the army behind them and immediately understood what was happening. His hands found his sword. The militia behind him gripped their weapons without knowing why. Mark spoke more words in 1 minute than I'd heard from him in months. I'm back. Peg Territory is my home. My home is Peg Territory. Lena is my home too, so you won't need to manage things for me anymore, Sir Karen. That includes the southern castle, my castle. I am the last person alive carrying pure Lehane blood. Nobody has more right to inherit Peg Territory than me. Whether you like it or not, I came back for one reason, to take back what's mine. Stay or leave, your choice. I won't interfere. This kid who barely strings 3 sentences together just delivered a full political speech in a snowstorm. I was impressed. Also a little worried, because Mark was clearly trying to defuse the situation before I decided to, solve it the Hades way. He'd lived through, heard a city's dark period. He'd seen my trees decorated with human ornaments. The boy was trying to save the old knight's life. A Karen did not appreciate being saved. He was about to demand whether Mark understood he was trading one master for another, selling Peg Territory's heritage to whoever was in that carriage. He didn't get the chance. Elvis stepped forward. The air around him started heating up. Every step added pressure. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. By the 4th, the militia behind a Karen were physically stumbling backward. This wasn't a threat. This was a glory knight releasing years of battlefield killing intent in measured doses. A Karen held firm because he's built different, but his militia was melting like snow in spring. Move aside, or die. 2 words from Elvis. That's all. A Karen looked at his terrified militia, farmers with cheap spears and leather scraps for armor, and made the only choice a man of honor could make. Drop your weapons. Go home. The Lena militia is disbanded. Get out of here, he screamed at them until one kid threw down his spear and ran. Then they all ran. A pile of junk weapons in the snow was all that remained of Lena's defense force. The old knight turned to Mark one final time. Dead serious. If you become lord, treat Peg Territory's people well. Then, quieter, to everyone. My family is innocent. Oh no. Oh no. I knew what was coming. A Karen drew his sword, took his stance, and shouted into the snowstorm. Knight Commander a Karen of Peg Territory challenges Sir Elvis to a knight's duel. Life and death, my own responsibility. A 60-year-old justice knight challenging a glory knight. In the snow. Alone. After disbanding his own militia to save them. He knows he's going to die. He's doing it anyway. Because his last act as knight commander needs to mean something. He wants to go out defending Lena with his sword in his hand. And he wants his family's safety guaranteed by the fact that he died in an honorable duel, not as a rebel or traitor. Public duel. Witnessed. If Elvis kills him fairly, imperial law protects his family. If Elvis refuses, a Karen blocks the gate until someone goes through him. Either way, the old man gets what he wants. This is either the bravest or the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Maybe both. Definitely both. I'm sitting in my warm carriage, watching through a crack in the curtain, thinking, I really need to recruit this guy instead of killing him. But that's Elvis's call now. And Elvis does not look like he's in a negotiating mood. Elvis moved like a purple lightning bolt. The old knight launched backward to give them fighting space, almost like he was choreographing his own death scene. Swords clashed in the silent snowfall, battle aura exploding between them, snow flying everywhere. From where we watched, it looked like a deadly ballroom dance. Beautiful and horrible at the same time. Elvis stopped holding back. Advanced combat art activated. Battle aura condensed onto his blade until it was practically glowing. Then he swung. A purple crescent moon flew from his sword. It cut through a Karen's blade. Then it cut through a Karen. Then it kept going, carved a trench through the snow, and cracked the city wall behind him. My new brave knights sat on their horses in stunned silence. First time seeing battle aura visible to the naked eye. First time seeing a combat art that can split a man and a wall in one swing. First time understanding the gap between where they are and where they need to be. Mark was staring too, and I could practically hear the ambition crystallizing in his skull. We rode into Lena. No resistance. No welcome either. The townspeople had no idea an old knight just died for them 50 meters from their front gate. They didn't care who was in charge. They cared about eating, staying warm, and maybe saving a few copper coins. Leadership changes are background noise when you're at the bottom. We took over a Karen's office. Mark stood guard outside all night. I know he wanted to visit the house where he grew up with his mother. He didn't go, just sat against the wall, half sleeping, waiting for morning. I didn't summon him either. Some things need silence. Dawn. Mark and the riders split into two teams, rode through Lena's streets, making as much noise as possible, and rounded up everyone with any influence. Local merchants, community figures, even some of the militia guys from last night. They all gathered in front of my quarters. But it wasn't me standing on the steps. It was Mark. My name is Mark Harold Spin. My other name is Mark Harold Thurse. I am the only heir of the late Baron Thurse. Peg territory, and its title will be mine. I will be your lord. Under my leadership, Peg territory will prosper. Your lives will improve. Those who cooperate will share in the success. Those who resist will not survive. Then he walked away without taking questions. Left them standing there. The kid learned from watching me. Short speech, big promises, veiled threats, dramatic exit. I'm so proud. Meanwhile, I was upstairs meditating with my necklace, checking on my pocket dimension, doing important lord things. This entire detour was a small side quest in my journey to the capital. While I meditated, Skin and Elvis took Mark south to the Baron's castle, where the 4 imperial babysitters were camped out. Elvis put on his wolf head badge. Skin changed into an expensive wool robe with an embroidered cloak. First time I'd seen the man dress fancy. He kept checking the letter tube on his saddle because inside was a letter written in the name of the Mulan family. Dad gave me 3 uses of the Mulan family's face when I left Rosa City. 3 times I can invoke the full weight of one of the Empire's most powerful families. Skin knows exactly how heavy that weight is. He glanced at Mark riding beside him and probably wondered if spending one of those 3 golden tickets on a teenage orphan was worth it. It's worth it, Skin. Trust me. At the castle, the 4 officials, Peace Officer Monad, Lord Bell, Royal Enforcement Knight Bacius, and Imperial Judge Malenk, had been sitting around a fireplace pretending this wasn't a crisis. They'd heard about the convoy last night, but didn't take it seriously. Then their spy reported, a Karen is dead. The bastard son is back. He's rallying supporters. They suddenly became very united. Nothing bonds rival bureaucrats like mutual fear. Then a servant announced, someone claiming to represent the Mulan family is here to see you. I imagine 4 sphincters tightened simultaneously. Whatever happened in that meeting, Skin handled it. He got back late, caught a few hours of sleep, and was ready to report by dawn. Now, the real crisis of my morning. Not politics. Not territory. Not imperial officials. Women. I woke up to discover that. 1. Mark was already waiting outside in a fur coat, leaning against the hallway wall like a loyal guard dog who hadn't slept. 2. Auntie Eileen had personally boiled hot water and was standing outside my door ready to supervise my morning routine. Young people should wake up early and feel the power of the light god. It's good for your health, she chirped. Ma'am, I am a baron. I will wake up whenever I want. 3. Barbara. Oh, Barbara. Last night she offered to warm my bed. I said no. Firmly. Desperately. So this morning she got revenge by sneaking into my room before I woke up and Let's just say she has no concept of personal boundaries, and I am scarred. Again. Still. Permanently. I was cold sleeping alone, she said with a smile that contained zero innocence. If you don't get up soon, I'll have to come cuddle for warmth next time. I got dressed at record speed under the combined supervision of both women. Eileen handled it with motherly efficiency. Barbara handled it with commentary that would make a sailor blush. They're only a few years apart in age, and while their styles of caring for me are completely different, maternal warmth versus weaponized flirtation, the intensity is identical. I am a reincarnated adult who has built an army, killed criminals, negotiated deals worth hundreds of thousands of gold, and is about to claim a barony at the imperial capital. And I cannot handle two women fussing over my morning outfit. Some battles are simply unwinnable. I only slept half the night. The other half? My consciousness spent 2 full days inside my pocket dimension working like a madman. Time ratio is beautiful. Half a night in reality equals 2 days inside. And I come out feeling refreshed instead of exhausted. The only thing that drains me is materializing stuff into the real world. First time I pulled out coffee seeds. Slept an entire day. First batch of potions. Another full day coma. That big materialization back in Herta. A week of recovery. Skin was constantly by my side, and I'm pretty sure he suspected I was being physically destroyed by prostitutes. And oh, Skin. I'm just pulling objects from another dimension. Normal stuff. Current pocket dimension inventory. Enchanted armor sets stacked in crates outside my work cabin forming a small monument to productivity. 3,000 medicine doses stockpiled. The herb garden tripled in size. New plant species added from everything I collected in Rhine City, plus what Dad's supply convoy brought. Years ago, I casually told Dad I wanted rare plants. Since then, every Mulan trade caravan has been secretly collecting seedlings and seeds from across the continent. Dad thought it was his weird kid's hobby. It was actually strategic resource acquisition. Thanks, Dad. Again, I stood on the second floor watching the sunrise over Lena and smiled for the first time in days. Then Skin started his report on last night's castle visit. Oh boy, the castle visit. So Skin, Elvis, and the crew arrived at Baron Thurst's castle where 4 imperial officials were squatting. The officials responded with a party, wine, fancy food, young female servants for everyone. Even the cavalry guys got treated. Maximum hospitality. Zero mention of the actual issue. Lord Bell, the noble assembly representative, started calling Skin an old friend because he'd seen Skin's grandfather a few times in the capital. They had literally never exchanged words. But sure, best friends. Beaches, the royal enforcement knight, cornered Elvis with a wine glass and started making small talk. 2 glory knights of similar age who'd vaguely crossed paths in the capital, now pretending to be buddies while Beaches desperately tried to steer conversation away from anything important. Elvis endured it with the patience of a saint. Monad the peace officer and Judge Malenk just drank quietly. Professionals at avoiding commitment. Finally, Skin broke out the nuclear option. 3 sealed letters from the Mulan family. 1 for each official except the judge. Lord Bell read his, and his fake friendly mask didn't even flicker. If it's the Count's wish, I naturally comply. I support Mark's full inheritance of Baron Thurst's territory and title. Snake-level politics in that one sentence. He said, I personally support. Not, the noble assembly supports. If his colleagues complain later, he has plausible deniability. And the reward? Dad promised him a Viscount title. Even without land, jumping from Lord, which is basically a participation trophy nobles bought, to Viscount, is a massive upgrade. Lords are dogs in the eyes of real nobles. Viscounts sit at the actual table. Bell also said, the Count's wishes, ambiguously enough that anyone listening might think he meant Count Dooku, the noble he officially works for, instead of Count Wright of the Mulan family. Plausible deniability layered on plausible deniability. This man is a professional weasel. Beaches stood up next. The royal family firmly upholds imperial inheritance law and noble rights. The crown recognizes Mark's claim. His letter came from the second prince. How did Dad manage that? Simple. Dad's own words came back to me. Find what a person needs, and you've found their weakness. The second prince needs allies for the eventual succession fight. Dad promised that when the time comes, the Mulan family will support him once. Just the family, no guarantee about the broader noble alliance behind them. One favor for one prince. That's the price of a letter telling one knight to rubber stamp a teenager's barony in the middle of nowhere. For the imperial family, Peg territory is nothing, a rounding error. For Dad, it cost a future political chip. Monad the peace officer? Dad didn't even bother with him directly. Just went to Monad's patron, the Cosimo family, and used the Mulan name. The Mulan family controls 20-something seats out of 227 in the imperial parliament. When that kind of weight asks nicely, people say yes. But among top-tier noble factions, even asking is a form of showing weakness, spending political goodwill, losing momentum. So Monad was actually the most expensive to secure, not in gold, but in prestige. That's Dad burning family reputation points for my side quest. A barony for a kid he's never met. Because I asked. 3 out of 4 officials handled. The fourth, Judge Malenk from the Imperial Central Court, famously the enemy of all nobles, could do nothing alone. He stood up, glared at all 3 of his colleagues, and stormed out. Couldn't understand why the royal family would compromise with the great noble houses. Couldn't understand why the peace officer caved. Didn't even bother being surprised about the noble assembly guy, because they're all corrupt anyway. Malenk left with nothing but anger and contempt. Peg territory's next lord, confirmed. Mark Harold Thurs. Skin gathered up the boys, some of whom had gotten very comfortable with those serving girls, and rode back to Lena through the snow in the middle of the night. First big mission completed. He lay in bed afterward thinking about what his father told him before leaving the capital. We're not nobles. But sometimes we're more noble than nobles. When you serve beside young Master Hades, remember one thing. Protecting your master's interests matters more than everything, including your life. Skin's father, Dion Papor Yura, has served 4 generations of the Mulan family. In the capital, nobles line up to butter him up just to get closer to Count Right. A butler who's treated like a noble because his master is the noble. And now his son just walked into a room of imperial officials, dropped 3 letters that rearranged an entire territory's political future, and walked out. The Butler dynasty continues. And me? While all this happened, I was sitting on a bed in a borrowed room, squeezing 2 days of enchanting and potion-making into half a night, watching my arsenal grow in a dimension nobody knows exists. Dad spent family prestige. Skin spent a sleepless night. Elvis intimidated bureaucrats. Mark reclaimed his birthright. Total cost to me personally? Half a night's sleep and some mental energy. I love having good people. I walked downstairs and gave Mark his marching orders. Baron's castle will be empty in 3 days, his choice whether to move in. Lena and Rhine City are now brother cities. Moonlight Fortress and Peg territory will grow together. Skin will handle the details. I'm sending reinforcements. Short term, Peg territory ships some resources our way. All structured as commercial cooperation, because I'm a businessman, not a conqueror. Totally different vibe. Hope you lead Peg territory to greatness, Baron Mark. Keep up with Moonlight Fortress or get left behind. I patted the kid on the shoulder and walked out into the snow. Alone. Told everyone to stay back. I needed to think. See, Mark's story cracked something open in my head. A question that had been gnawing at me since we left Rhine City. What if it happens to me? What if someday I'm the one getting conspired against? What if Dad falls? What if my brothers get outmaneuvered? What if the Mulan family gets carved up by wolves? What could I actually do? My brain started spiraling. Make Moonlight Fortress as strong as Eagle territory. Not enough. Stronger than the Bodman royal family. Still not enough. Stronger than any single power on the continent. The church has Saint Knights. The Mist Forest has archmages. Any one of them could kill me like swatting a fly. What do I do? What do I do? Get my own Saint Knights. My own archmages. But what if the Cis Empire invades? What if the demons come south? What if Saxon, Rampa, everyone attacks at once? I need a force that can fight a nation. Or at minimum survive one. Then my brain offered me the easy option. You know? You could just do nothing. Enjoy being a top-tier noble's son. Drink coffee. Chase maids. Ride horses. Live the good life until you die. You never got to enjoy your first life. Why waste the second one stressing? And for a moment, just a moment, that sounded really nice. Then I asked myself the real question. What do I actually want? And the answers came flooding. I want to drink coffee in the sunshine. I want to play around with the maids. I want to gallop across open fields. I want to forge weapons with Oleg in the Red Mountains. I want to explore magic in the Mist Forest. I want to cross the Girt Mountains and see how demons actually live. I want to ride a dragon someday. But also, I want people to eat enough. I want slaves treated like humans. I want commoners to have the same dignity as nobles. I want the exploitation to stop. I want wars to end. I want this world to know that equality isn't just a fantasy. That last part, that's the voice from my old world talking. The 21st century soul trapped inside a medieval nobleman. I've seen what a society looks like when people have rights. When laws apply to everyone. When your birth doesn't determine your ceiling. And now I'm living in a world where serfs get their brides violated on wedding nights and nobody blinks. The contradiction is eating me alive. I'm a product of this system. I use this system. My power comes from the aristocratic structure I quietly despise. Every night I create, every territory I claim, every noble I bribe. I'm playing the game I want to destroy. How do you spread your message across a continent? How do you change minds forged over thousands of years? The answer is always the same. Power. Overwhelming, undeniable power. Then become the strongest. Simple. Impossible. Necessary. I'll figure it out. Snow fell on my shoulders as I stood there having an existential crisis in a field. Very dramatic. Very main character energy. 0 witnesses except one. Arsa. Following 100 meters behind. Silent as always. Let me tell you about Arsa, because the man's story explains everything. He was the rising star of the Steel Fortress. Grand Knight at 28. The youngest elite in Grand Duke Perdis's demon hunting force. He killed demons on the Girt Mountains like it was a day job. Never questioned it. Demons are monsters. Monsters get killed. Simple worldview. Then one day, 2 of his soldiers woke up after being ambushed and told him something strange. A female demon with 2 wildflowers tied to her horns had saved them, bandaged their wounds, healed them. Arsa looked down at his feet, at the severed head lying there. 2 small yellow flowers still tied to its horns. Everything he believed shattered in that moment. Are all demons evil? Is killing every single one of them protection or just massacre? Who decided the word demon means kill on sight? Months of silence. Months of doubt. Then he got sent to another attacked village. 12 horned people, men and women. He tried to talk to them this time. Tried to ask what life was like north of the mountains. Bad move. One of the frail-looking female demons turned out to be Grand Knight Tyr. She attacked first. The rest followed. When Arsa crawled out of a collapsed building, every single human, his 4 knights, 30 cavalry, 300 villagers, was dead. He killed all 12 demons. Then he stood alone in a village of corpses and screaming echoes. After recovering from his wounds, he quietly retired to Windmill Town in the Is province. Sent Grand Duke Perdis a letter of gratitude and apology. The Duke, apparently a decent guy, let him go without drama, restored his free knight status, and never sent anyone to bother him. The rising star of Steel Fortress vanished at 28. Then demons attacked his hiding spot too. His neighbors died. He fled south with refugees, got sold into slavery, and ended up sitting in a tavern in Herta City when some 20-year-old noble kid sat down uninvited and started making friends. When I first asked Arsa to be my knight, he said a no. Flat refusal. So I didn't offer gold or land or potions. Instead, I just talked to him like a friend, told him about a dream I had, a world without nobles, where everyone eats, where people have rights, where laws apply equally. Arsa went quiet for a long time. Then he asked one question. Could our world become like that? I don't know if I can do it, but I'll try. At minimum, I want people to know that such a world can exist. I call it liberating the mind. He agreed to stay. I never formally knighted him, just gave him the refugee village. After that, he started following me on his own. No orders, no contract, just a man who believes that if anyone can build that impossible world, it's me. A Grand Knight, former demon-slaying prodigy, broken by war, rebuilt by an idea, walking 100 meters behind me in the snow, sword held to his chest, guarding a dream he's not sure is possible. And me? I'm walking ahead, also not sure it's possible, but too stubborn to stop trying. 2 idiots in a snowfield, chasing the same impossible thing. Let's go become the strongest. We'll figure out the rest later. While I was having my little existential crisis in the snow, someone decided it was a great day for assassination attempt number 2. Lord Bell, the weasel from last night who sold his support for a Viscount title, rolled up to Lena with a carriage and 12 riders. My gate guards let him through because Elvis cleared it, but one of my sharp-eyed cavalry boys noticed something off. The 12 riders didn't match. For in standard leather jackets up front, 2 in chainmail with animal fur, mercenary types, one with a broadsword and shield, the other with twin rapiers. Then a full heavy cavalry knight with an armored horse. A guy in skin-tight clothes with Inno winter coat in a blizzard. And 2 massive axe-wielding warriors the size of my Beto guys. That's not a nobleman's escort. That's an assassination squad wearing a disguise that a 5-year-old could see through. My cavalry guard figured it out and tried to mount up to warn Elvis. At that exact moment, a shadow launched off a horse from outside the city, drew a sword mid-air, and took the first guard's head clean off before he could even turn around. Blood on white snow. Steam rising. The second guard blocked the follow-up strike. On the ground stood a slim woman in all black, face covered, rapier dripping red. She tilted her head, genuinely curious. "You're not even a knight. How did you block that?" "Go to hell," my guy charged her. His slash was faster and harder than any normal human's, because even though he failed awakening, months of potion exposure and breathing practice had pushed his body past human limits. He wasn't a knight, but he wasn't ordinary either. The woman found this fascinating, like a cat batting at a surprisingly spicy mouse. She deflected his heavy strike effortlessly, then put her rapier through his right shoulder like butter through armor. Battle aura punched straight through steel plate. But this absolute madman didn't stop. Kicked at her with a broken leg incoming, switched his sword to his left hand, and swung for her waist while her blade was still on his shoulder. That pushed her from curious to furious. A commoner almost made her dodge. Unacceptable. She shredded his shoulder, snapped his shin with a kick, crushed his chest with an elbow strike, and sent him flying into the snow. Both guards down. One headless. One broken. She stood over the bodies, bored, waiting. Her job, hold the south gate. Kill anyone coming or going. Simple work for a professional killer. When nobody showed up for a while, she got bored and started carving things into the dying guard's face with her rapier tip. Because she's a psychopath. Got it. Noted. Then a voice from the snowstorm. "What are you doing?" She spun around. Walking toward her through the blizzard was a middle-aged man, scraggly beard, thin linen shirt in freezing weather, leading a skinny horse. If not for the cross-shaped sword on his back, you'd think he was a homeless poet. "What are you doing?" he asked again. "Who are you?" "I'm Roland." "What are you doing?" third time. This man has one question and infinite patience. She answered with her rapier aimed at his throat at full sprint. He didn't draw his sword, didn't dodge, just caught her blade with his bare hand. One hand, thin layer of battle aura on the palm. The rapier didn't move a millimeter. She went full power, pumped everything she had into pushing that blade forward. Nothing, like pushing against a mountain that grew legs and decided to stand in her way. For a brief moment, her eyes lit up with psychotic excitement. She abandoned the stuck rapier, ripped a dagger from her thigh holster, and stabbed at his temple so fast the air screamed. The dagger hit an invisible wall. The impact feedback felt like she'd just tried to stab a continent. The rapier shattered in his other hand. 2 fingers calmly pinched her dagger blade. Stuck again. Immovable again. But this time, no excitement. Only terror. Because among knights, there's a rule of thumb. If a knight's battle aura gathers visibly around their body and stays there temporarily, they're at minimum a titled knight. But if a knight's condensed aura appears automatically the moment they activate, meaning it's always there, every second of every day, then you might be looking at a saint knight. This homeless-looking poet walking a skinny horse through a snowstorm had permanent condensed battle aura. A saint knight just wandered into my assassination crisis like he was checking the weather. I was 300 meters away having philosophical thoughts about equality and justice, completely unaware that the 4th known saint knight on the entire continent just showed up at my front door and asked a murderer, "What are you doing?" 3 times. This world has comedic timing. So there I was. Wait, no, I don't say that. I was standing in the snowy main street, existential crisis freshly concluded, wearing a fancy snow ferret coat that skin had just draped over my shoulders like I was a runway model. Philosophical growth, complete. Determination to become the strongest, locked in. Emotional state, motivated. Then Lord Bell's carriage rolled up, and everything went sideways in about 4 seconds. Elvis stepped forward, hand on sword, signaling them to stop. Bell climbed out of his carriage with his trademark slimy smile already at maximum wattage. Young Master Hades, it's been so long. You look even more handsome, compliment after compliment, oozing flattery like a leaking grease barrel. I just smiled and said nothing, which is my power move. Silence makes politicians crazy. Bell kept going. Why didn't you tell your uncle you were visiting? I didn't even prepare a proper welcome. Let me make it up to you in the capital. He started calling himself my uncle. We are not related. This man has the thickest skin in the empire, and I say that as someone who's met politicians. Then Bell reached for my hand to do a kissing greeting. Both Skin and Elvis moved forward simultaneously. Skin because I didn't offer my hand, and Elvis because he considers Bell too lowly to touch me. Two different reasons, same protective instinct. Love my team. But Bell wasn't going for a kiss. A dagger slid out of his sleeve and went straight for my chest. Bell, the weasel, the guy who accepted a Viscount title from Dad last night, was now trying to stab me. The man took the bribe and the assassination contract. Double-dipping treasonous snake. The dagger stopped a hair's width from my chest. My necklace, the one my old magic teacher gave me, erupted in green light, wrapping my entire body in a protective barrier. Thank you, old man. Wherever you are in the mist forest, your gift just saved my life. That enchanted pendant has been hanging around my neck for years doing nothing, and now it decides to earn its keep. Perfect timing. Two shadows blurred past me. Elvis grabbed Bell's face with one hand and dragged him across the snow like a mop. Several meters. Face first. In the snow. Beautiful. Then a quick chop to the neck. Unconscious. Not dead. We need this worm alive for questioning. The bodyguard behind Bell barely got his sword halfway out before Arsa's fist went through his stomach. Not into. Through. Then he got launched backward like a catapult projectile. Grand Night casual violence. Zero effort. Then the rest of Bell's escort attacked. 4 front riders, actually disguised knights, charged straight at me on horseback, battle aura on their swords. The 2 mercenary-looking guys, one huge with a broadsword, one tall and thin with twin rapiers, flanked from both sides. Direct assassination formation. Target me. Elvis intercepted the thin rapier guy. Full power immediately. No warm-up. No testing. His battle aura blasted snow off the ground in every direction. Purple energy condensed on his sword and he launched a crescent moon slash. The same technique that killed a Karen last night. Except this one was several times bigger and brighter. The thin assassin saw death coming and tried to retreat at maximum speed. Didn't matter. The purple moon cut through the entire street, split the snow like parting a white sea, hit the city wall, and exploded stone in every direction. When the dust settled, the thin guy was just gone. No body, no clothes. The battle aura was so intense it vaporized everything. 2 broken rapiers on the ground were the only evidence he'd existed. Elvis was back in front of me before I could blink. Arsa handled the broadsword brute. Both arms severed, knees cut. The man was kneeling in a pool of his own blood, his shield in pieces, his massive sword lying just out of reach. Arsa didn't finish him. Wanted him alive. Smart. But 3 more were still coming. The full-armored heavy knight and the 4 charging cavalry knights swarmed Elvis, and for a moment, they actually matched him. 5 versus 1, keeping a glory knight occupied, which left 3 attackers with a clear path to me. My necklace pendant was flickering. The green shield was fading. Whatever magic charge it had was running out at the worst possible time. 2 giants, disguised as Beetle warriors, raised massive axes and swung at my head. Skin shoved me out of the way. Then he closed his eyes and waited to die. He closed his eyes. This man, who has never held a sword, never trained as a fighter, who was a butler, pushed his lord aside and stood in front of 2 axe-wielding killers with his eyes shut. Ready to die? Because his father told him protecting the master matters more than everything, including his life. Skin, you absolute lunatic. I am giving you a raise. But nobody died. Because I finally showed something I've been hiding for 12 years. When Skin opened his eyes, I was standing in front of him, and the 2 axe-wielders were not swinging anymore. Because something was stopping them. Magic. My magic. The attack spells I learned from the court mage and never used in front of anyone except the old teacher himself. The secret weapon. The hidden card. The thing nobody in this world knows I can do. 12 years of hiding. 12 years of being the talentless waste who can't even awaken as a knight. And now, in a bloody street in a backwater town, with axes coming at my head and my butler ready to die for me, I finally showed the world what Hades Mulan actually is. Surprise, everyone. The useless third son does magic. Phi Re OSD. Free HZ call. POYWER MA and I fest. Yeah, I did magic. Out loud. In a language that sounds like a drunk elf having a seizure. Not exactly dignified, but when two giant axe-wielding maniacs are about to split your skull, dignity takes a back seat. The two brutes started frosting over. From their ARMS first, then spreading across their entire bodies. And here's the creepy part. The ice was growing from inside them. Like their blood was freezing and pushing crystals through their skin. By the time their axes were half a meter from my beautiful face, they were solid frost statues. Two frozen meat popsicles standing in the street. I'm a mage. Surprise. 12 years of hiding that little detail from everyone except my old court mage teacher. The useless third son who can't awaken as a knight can apparently freeze people solid with 3 sentences of gibberish. Life is full of surprises. Nobody noticed what happened next because everyone was staring at my ice sculptures. The old coachman, the guy who's been silently driving my carriage this entire story, dropped his reins and stared at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Then the last assassin appeared at my side. The skin-tight clothes weirdo with a winter coat, carrying a cross-shaped sword identical to the one that Roland, stranger, had outside the city. But he wasn't swinging at me. He swung behind him. Boom. 2 swords collided. 2 tsunamis of battle aura crashed. And suddenly Arsa and cross-sword guy were gone. Moving so fast, they became invisible. All I could feel was shockwave after shockwave, like standing next to dueling thunderstorms. The snowflakes around me literally changed direction mid-fall from the pressure waves. I sat down in the snow. Not on purpose. My legs just quit. That ice spell ate my entire spiritual reserve. I felt like someone scooped my brain out and wrung it dry. Skin rushed over and propped me up from behind, looking terrified. Reinforcements arrived. Chelsea, Kenny, and 6 Justice Knights from the north. Raymond, Ian, and their cavalry from the south. Skin's relief lasted about half a second before he felt the air pressure around us compressing. The Arsa versus cross-sword fight was creating a localized apocalypse. Even with everyone here, this level of combat was simply on another floor. My knights tried to reach me through the storm of battle aura. Couldn't get in. Arsa couldn't stop fighting long enough to let them through. The 2 fighters were locked in a cage of their own violence. Some of my knights prepared to charge in any way. Sacrificed themselves. I screamed at them to stop. Help Elvis instead. They redirected. Smart move because Elvis needed it. He'd been soloing 5 attackers, 4 Justice Knight level riders plus the full armor, Tin Can, Knight. He had cuts on his forearm and back from protecting me against all 5 simultaneously. The price of being my shield. The cavalry reinforcements changed everything. Ian, Chris, Mark, Raymond, and the brave boys piled onto the assassins like wolves. Cost. 3 cavalrymen dead. Chris lost his right arm. His sword was literally pinning a dead assassin's leg to the ground when they found him. Ian and Mark took multiple stab wounds and collapsed. Chris's arm was being bandaged by 2 riders while the one-armed knight lay in the snow next to the man he helped kill. Chelsea walked over and casually tossed a severed head onto the ground. 2 down. The remaining 2 assassins saw their friends dying and went berserk. Full power, maximum output, trying to break south and escape. Against 6 Justice Knights, including fresh reinforcements? Not happening. They traded wounds for kills and got nowhere. Both died in the snow. The Tin Can, Elvis's opponent, got her helmet ripped halfway off in the fight. Long hair spilled out. A woman. Elvis hadn't expected that, but it didn't slow him down. She had a massive gash from forehead to abdomen that split her armor open, plus 4 or 5 bleeding wounds. She collapsed. Score so far, assassin squad destroyed. But at a cost. 3 dead cavalry. Chris missing an arm. Multiple wounded. Elvis battered. Me sitting in the snow with 0 magic energy left. and Arsa still locked in an invisible death match with Cross-Sword Guy. Then Cross-Sword Guy's aura exploded. His sword started glowing with blinding light, some kind of combat art or divine buff. Elvis recognized it. Church blessing. A technique only church knights are supposed to know. An assassin using holy warrior techniques. The Church of Light is involved in this. What? My brain was too fried to process conspiracy theories because something else was happening. From the south, a figure appeared in the snow, walking casually. A woman beside him, cross-shaped sword on his back. Roland, the homeless poet from the gate. The instant he appeared, my old coachman materialized in front of me. The old man who's been driving my carriage since Chapter 1, who smiles at everything, who never talks, who I've always assumed was just a really good driver. This man was suddenly holding a knight's sword with an expression of absolute dread, standing between me and Roland like a final defensive wall. Wait, what? My coachman has a sword? My coachman is combat ready? My coachman is looking at Roland like he's the most dangerous thing he's ever seen? How many people around me are secretly terrifying? Both fighters felt the shift. Arsa and Cross-Sword Guy simultaneously stopped fighting. Arsa rushed back to stand beside the old coachman in front of me. Cross-Sword Guy sprinted north at full speed. Running. The assassin who matched a Grand Knight blow for blow was running. Because Roland showed up. Then Roland disappeared from where he was standing. The old coachman drew his sword, then turned to look north. Roland was already there, standing in front of the fleeing assassin. The man who fought Arsa to a standstill, one of the most dangerous people I've encountered in this world, was dangling from Roland's hand like a chicken, held by the neck, feet off the ground, carried back toward us like a misbehaving puppy. A Grand Knight-level assassin with church holy techniques, grabbed by the neck, by a guy in a linen shirt. My old coachman is secretly armed. Arsa is a Grand Knight. Elvis can vaporize people with purple moons. And now a Saint Knight just caught my would-be killer like he was picking up groceries. I'm sitting in the snow, magically exhausted, surrounded by dead bodies, frozen assassin statues, and the most absurd collection of overpowered individuals this continent has ever assembled in one place. What a Tuesday. Roland casually introduced himself and the guy he was holding by the neck like a grocery bag. This is Starrick, ex-member of the Radiant Knight Order. Deserted 6 months ago. I'm taking him back for church trial. I already knew who Roland was. Read about him in the family library. Saint Roland Froey Charney, one of the Church of Light's 3 Saint Knights. The model knight, the most respected knight, legendary figure walking around in a linen shirt like a backpacker. He didn't announce his full title, so I played dumb. Smart move meeting smart move. We traded formal words. He apologized for Starrick's involvement in the attack, promised the church tribunal would respond with compensation, and handed me his personal badge, a gear-shaped medallion with Illuminati on the front and Roland on the back. One favor. Anytime. Just deliver the badge to the Holy City. A Saint Knight owes me a favor. I almost got murdered and came out with a legendary IOU. The universe has a weird sense of balance. Roland vanished with his prisoner. I screamed, "It's a deal. See you around," at the empty sky, then collapsed against skin like a puppet with cut strings and passed out. I slept for an entire day. Barbara and Eileen took shifts nursing me. For once, I didn't mind. Meanwhile, Elvis managed the aftermath. The gate assassin, the psycho woman who carved on my guard's face, cracked under interrogation that same night. She belonged to an organization called Hashishin. Quick history. 1,000 years ago there was one assassin brotherhood. It split into 3 groups. The original, Brotherhood, operates in the Cis Empire, still follows the old code of never killing innocents. The Free Society operates in Saxon Kingdom territory, pretends to promote peace while secretly serving the king. And Hashishin, my lucky lottery winners, became a pure murder-for-hire operation. There are 3 rules. No good or evil. No right or wrong. No restrictions on targets. Just money. That's it. The crazy gate lady was textbook Hashishin. The armored female knight stayed silent, held to her code. The interrogators weren't rushing. Priorities were keeping me alive and getting to the capital on time. When I woke up, Barbara and Eileen were hovering over me like worried helicopters. I walked outside, gathered everyone, and kept it short. Mourn our dead. Thank you for your courage. I'll repay our enemies tenfold. Skin and Elvis handle cleanup. Pack up. We leave in 30 minutes. Then I turn to Mark. Original plan continues. But strategy change. Being gentle is too slow. Kill whoever needs killing. Yes, SIR. Everyone in unison. Casualties: 7 cavalry dead. 5 brave knights dead. Over a dozen wounded. 3 critically injured staying in Lena to recover. The dead would be sent back to Moonlight Fortress for proper burial. I gave Skin my orders from the carriage as we rode out. Send the 2 fake Beetle corpses to Moonlight Fortress. Have actual Beetle warriors trace their origins on Beetle Island. Tell Elena to use everything to identify the broadsword brute and the thin rapier guy. 2 mercenaries that distinctive shouldn't be hard to find. Ask Dad to handle the church angle. The 2 captured women? Extract everything, then execute. And Belle? Don't torture him. Just wait until he sees his own family. He'll talk. Weasels always do when their loved ones are involved. Skin scribbled notes while I dictated. My butler is taking assassination follow-up instructions like a secretary taking meeting minutes. This is my life now. 5 dead knights. 7 dead riders. 1 Saint Knight's favor in my pocket. A Hashishin organization on my revenge list. A church conspiracy to untangle. And a baronial ceremony in the capital that I cannot miss because the Mulan family's enemies will use any absence as ammunition. The gentle approach is officially over. From now on, problems get solved the fast way. I replayed the whole attack in my head. The intel from interrogations. The tactical breakdown. All useful, all important. But what kept hitting me was the faces. 12 young men. Dead. 7 armored cavalry. In all of Eagle Territory's 2 million people, there are only 2,000 of these elite riders. They were 1 in 1,000. They were Moonlight Fortress's future. They were someone's son, someone's brother, someone's hope. 2 days ago they were laughing, riding, alive. Now their bodies under sheets in the snow. I've ordered executions. I've hung criminals from trees. I've frozen assassins into popsicles. None of that prepared me for the weight of losing people who died because they believed in me. That anger didn't fade. It burned, and I let it burn. But Dad's anger makes mine look like a candle next to a forest fire. The moment Dad received the magical emergency report in the capital, he went nuclear. And his first target wasn't the assassins. It was their employers. The trail led to the Iberia Mercenary Company, based in the Lublin Alliance, a cluster of free cities in the Empire's east that operate like semi-independent city-states. Quick history. These cities survived from the old Komu Kingdom era, got rich off desert trade, and negotiated enough political independence to elect their own officials and maintain private militaries. They pay extra taxes for the privilege and serve as a haven for escaped slaves, which led to registration fees, which led to guilds, merchant guilds, craft guilds, mercenary guilds. The Iberia Mercenary Company is the biggest muscle in town. 200 elite swordsmen called strikers, 300 mountain pikemen in heavy armor, 500 light cavalry, 50 registered knights, plus a few hundred peasant auxiliaries. Outside the city's own militia, they're the strongest force in the region. They fund themselves through caravan escorts, small war contracts, and unofficial desert activities, which is polite language for robbing desert nomad traders. Key detail. 2 of their mercenaries were identified among my assassins. The big broadsword guy and the thin rapier specialist. Dad's response. He sent Hawk. Hawk. Dad's personal shadow. The knight who stands outside Dad's study door and never speaks. The guy I've seen maybe 10 times in my life and know almost nothing about. That Hawk. What Hawk did in one night. 8 Iberia patrols executing desert missions. Wiped out. 0 survivors. Their cavalry camp outside Lublek City, raided by dozens of knights at midnight. Half their cavalry destroyed. Every Iberia knight stationed in outlying towns went silent. Lost contact. Gone. The mercenary commander, a 50-year-old veteran who's seen everything, woke up to realize his entire organization was being systematically dismantled overnight. He scrambled a full alert and recalled everyone, which limited further damage, but the message was clear. Then Hawk walked into the mercenary guild headquarters in Lublek City. Alone. Everyone who tried to stop him, dead or hospitalized for 2 weeks minimum. The guild had 40 knights on site, including 5 glory knights and 2 grand knights, plus 200 elite fighters. Hawk walked through all of them like they were training dummies. He sat down politely in front of Guild Master Roger. Roger's assistant leaned in and whispered, 200 of our men are down, dead or wounded. All of them. Roger suddenly became very polite. Hawk grinned. Master Roger, your boys are so young and energetic. They all fell asleep the moment I arrived. Roger pretended he didn't hear that. What do you want, sir? You didn't even ask my name. That's rude, Master Roger. I'm Hawk, from Eagle Territory. As for why I'm here, you should ask your Iberia Mercenary Company. Oh, and we arrived yesterday. Brought them some gifts. Hope they enjoyed them. Roger wiped sweat off his forehead. He's a big shot in this region. But big shots know exactly how big the bigger shots are. And the Milan family? Golden family tier. Military powerhouse. The kind of people who make entire kingdoms nervous. Hawk held up 3 fingers. 3 days. Fix this. If you don't, we fix it. And then whether the Iberia Mercenary Company needs to exist becomes a question. Eagle Territory wouldn't mind a little desert crusade. Then he just walked out, through the building full of people he'd just beaten unconscious. Back into the night. Roger sat there sweating. A man who solo invaded a fortress containing 40 knights and 200 fighters, demolished them all, sat down for a chat, threatened to erase an entire mercenary company from existence, and left whistling. That's Hawk. That's Dad's personal knight. That's why nobody messes with the Milan family. And Dad deployed him in under 24 hours. While I was still unconscious in a bed in Lena City being fussed over by Barbara and Eileen. I don't know exactly what Hawk's knight rank is, but a man who walks through grand knights like they're made of paper and makes guild masters sweat through their clothes? He's not a glory knight. He might not even be a titled knight. He might be the Milan family's hidden saint knight. Dad, you've been holding out on me. We need to talk when I get to the capital. Day 4 after the attack. We were riding hard through snow, eating on horseback, sleeping in shifts. Everyone's nerves wound tighter than a crossbow string. Meanwhile, Dad had unleashed hell in every direction simultaneously. First, reinforcements incoming. 5 Grand Knights and 10 Glory Knights racing toward my convoy. Plus the entire Mulan garrison from Rosa City, 30 knights and 170 armored cavalry, deployed 2 nights ago and heading north. Dad emptied the entire capital detachment for me. Every single soldier. If someone attacks the Mulan estate in Rosa City right now, they'd find an empty building and a very confused gardener. Second, Betel Island. Remember those 2 fake Betel assassins? Dad's people traced them. What happened next is heavy. A group of Betel warriors who'd been working as mercenaries returned to the island with 2 ships full of goods. That evening, they attacked a village called Rock Village. Slaughtered nearly everyone. 200 people. Elders. Children. All of them. The survivors among the attackers then walked to their sacred ancestor mountain and surrendered for judgment. They'd committed the worst possible Betel crime, killing their own people. The punishment? Fire. Burned alive in holy flame, to cleanse their souls so they could return to the mountain's embrace in death. Over 30 warriors burned without speaking a single word about why they did it. But the goods and gold they'd brought back would sustain the destroyed village's survivors for a decade. Someone paid Betel mercenaries to kill their own people, probably as leverage or punishment connected to the ones serving me. The goods were blood money delivered in advance. These warriors knew they'd die for it. They did it anyway, and made sure their families would be provided for. This world is brutal in ways I keep underestimating. Quick sidebar on Betel biology because it explains everything about them. Betel people are born at peak physical condition. Their bodies only go downhill from birth. By 16, they're at half strength. Most become mercenaries because their island has 0 resources. Half die abroad. A quarter of survivors return home to die around 50. The rest stay in the outside world. They're trapped in this cycle by poverty and their sacred mountain faith. Generation after generation. Same fate. Same mountain. They're the strongest warriors you'll ever meet at 20 and broken old men by 40. The universe gave them incredible bodies and then said, but only briefly, cruel design. Third track. Dad went after the Hashishin directly. The Hashishins' headquarters? Hidden in Bashi City, in the Ofa province, the empire's richest territory after the capital region. Ofa is tiny but loaded. It sits between the grain-producing Orlando province and the military-industrial Tovo province. buying cheap grain from one side and cheap weapons from the other, reselling both at massive markups. Geographic privilege turned into generational wealth. 400,000 people crammed into a space smaller than Eagle territory. Because Ofa has money but no military muscle, it became a mercenary paradise. Prices are double or triple anywhere else. The saying goes, there are no mercenaries too expensive, only gold that hasn't been offered yet. And underneath all that prosperity, the Hashashin's leader, known only as the devoted master, hiding in plain sight in a city of 300,000. Almost nobody knows who this person is. Even inside the organization, only a handful of ancient elders have ever seen their face. The trail led to the Ryman's Cathedral in Bashi City. A priest named Listoro had just finished a baptism ceremony when a monk approached him. "Father, someone from Rosa City is here to see you." A priest. The Hashashin's mystery leader might be a church priest, running a murder-for-hire organization from inside a cathedral, in the richest city in the empire, under everyone's noses for over a decade. I'm riding through a blizzard eating dried meat off a saddle, and Dad is simultaneously deploying a secret night to terrorize mercenary guilds, tracing Betel assassins across an ocean, and apparently knocking on the door of the most secretive assassination network on the continent. Lighter Boja doesn't do proportional response. He does overwhelming response. On every front. At the same time, my heart is still burning from 12 dead brothers. And apparently Dad's heart burns even hotter, except his fire actually reaches people. Across provinces, across oceans, into cathedrals. I'm coming for whoever ordered this. Dad's already there. And by the time I sit on my baron's throne in the capital, the people who tried to kill me are going to wish they'd picked a different career. I didn't witness this part personally, but Dad's network filled me in later, and honestly, the political maneuvering was so ridiculous I have to share it. Dad needed someone to deliver a message to the Hashashin secret leader. So who did he call? His buddy Philip. Full name, Philip Henry de Morlisha Bodeman. As in, the imperial family Bodeman. The emperor's brother. A duke. Dad's drinking buddy is a prince of the empire. Of course he is. My father collects powerful friends like normal people collect coins. Philip strolled into Bashi City, found the Ryman's Cathedral, and asked for Father Listoro. Because the supreme leader of the continent's most feared assassination network is a priest, running a murder empire from a church. The man baptizes babies on weekday mornings and orders assassinations on weekday afternoons. Dual career. When Philip casually dropped, "I know you're the devoted master," the priest unleashed battle aura so intense it cracked the blue crystal windows. The room was basically a pressure cooker. Philip, sweating under the force, still managed to be sarcastic. "Relax, I'm just a messenger. Showing off to me won't help. Go flex at the guy in Rosa City if you've got guts. Oh, and I'm a Bodeman. The Emperor is my brother. So unless you're a Saint Knight, maybe calm down." The aura retreated. Philip wiped his forehead and grumbled. "Sorry, I deal with sneaky politicians all day. Force of habit." Then the message: "Your people tried to kill the Mulan family head's favorite son. He wants payback." He asked, begged, actually, me to come ask you. "What are you going to do about it?" The devoted master thought for a while. Philip lost patience. "Did you understand what I said? What do you want? What do you think? I'll kill someone for you." Just like that. The leader of the Hashashin, operating on their code. No good or evil, no right or wrong. Only the price, calculated instantly. The Mulan family plus an imperial duke demanding revenge outweighs whatever the original client's protection is worth. Pure math. Pure survival. Philip smiled. "Deal. I swear on my family name. Do this, and we're even. You can keep existing as long as you don't cross the line again." The target. Rascana John Lorland Cosimo. Head of the Cosimo family. One of the empire's 4 great golden families. Dad just used an imperial prince as a messenger to redirect the entire Hashashin organization against one of his political enemies. He turned getting attacked into a weapon. The people who hired assassins against me are about to get assassinated by the same organization. And Dad gets to eliminate a rival house as a bonus. This is chess played at a level that makes my 70,000 gold deals look like buying candy. After Philip left, Listoro sat alone processing his situation. He understood everything. The Hashashin can't refuse based on their own code. Whoever offers the bigger stakes wins. And a duke plus a border count beats whatever the Cosimo family promised. The priest assassin master was actually annoyed that the original hit failed. If they'd just killed the kid, I'd either be dead or on the run. At least that's simpler than this political nightmare. He started preparations. Sent coded signals across Bashi City. A dock worker named Kira found a symbol carved into his door, grabbed a hidden suitcase from under his floorboards, and vanished into the city. Dozens of other sleeper agents with ordinary day jobs, laborers, craftsmen, shopkeepers, received similar signals and started evacuating. Only 8 agents got a different code. Those 8 converged on the cathedral. The Hashishin is mobilizing. Their target, the head of a golden family. And the whole thing started because somebody thought killing the useless third son of a border count would be easy money. Dad turned my assassination attempt into a political cruise missile aimed at a rival great house, delivered by an imperial prince, executed by the assassins who originally attacked me. I would slow clap if my arms weren't still sore from magical exhaustion. I didn't hear this conversation in real time, but intelligence has a way of reaching me eventually. And when it did, I wanted to laugh and scream simultaneously. The guy who tried to have me killed? A 20-something brat named Rascana Cosimo, youngest grandson of Duke Lorenzo di Cosimo, head of one of the empires for golden families. The Blood Rose, Duke himself. Picture this. Rascana standing in his fancy study at Rose Fortress, getting roasted through a magic crystal ball by his grandfather. An old man's face floating in a glowing orb, screaming, "You idiot! Who told you to assassinate the Milan brat? And what kind of trash assassins did you hire? You didn't even get the job done. Now you've poked crazy right." Rascana's defense? He was being arrogant on our turf, grandfather. I heard you and father talking about how the Milan family might be expanding east. I was just pulling the nail early. Also, all my hired people are untraceable and the middleman is already dead, so nobody can connect it to us. Buddy, pal, my father already knows it's you. Dad sent an imperial prince to redirect the Hashishin against your family head. You're untraceable. Operation has been traced, mapped, and turned into a counterstrike. You're standing in your castle feeling clever while your grandfather's name is literally being handed to professional killers as a target. Here's what's hilarious about Rascana's motivation. He's the 5th son competing for succession. His 4 older brothers have equal inheritance rights, equal education, equal resources. His only advantage? Being the youngest gets him slightly more affection from Grandpa. So he decided to prove himself by ordering a hit on me, the useless white idiot of the Milan family. Easy target, quick win, instant credibility. Except I didn't die, and now his entire family is in the crosshairs. Quick Cosimo family breakdown. Founded by Saint Abelardo Cosimo, one of the original 6 Saint Knights. They hold 3 hereditary titles: Duke of Lombardia, Count of Uffizi, Count of Bedati. The 2 county titles get assigned by whoever's duke, so the family stays consolidated. Rascana's uncle runs Uffizi. The duke's brother runs Bedati. Classic golden family structure. Massive, wealthy, deeply entrenched. And their patriarch, Lorenzo? This old man has been playing the imperial political game for decades. He knows exactly how dangerous Dad is. He actually respects Dad, which is terrifying because, Blood Rose, Lorenzo's personal philosophy is that value outweighs everything. Family, expendable. Blood, expendable. If a grandson fails, Lorenzo wouldn't even flinch watching him die. But apparently, even cold-blooded grandpas get soft with age, because Lorenzo decided to help Rascana instead of throwing him to the wolves. He told Rascana, "Listen carefully. This is both your training and your test. Tell me everything about who you hired." So the old Blood Rose is getting involved personally. The man who survived at the Empire's peak for decades is now actively managing the fallout from his grandson's stupid decision. This is getting interesting. On one side, Dad, an imperial prince, a redirected assassination network, and Hawk the one-man army. On the other, the Blood Rose Duke, 3 territories, centuries of accumulated power, and a spoiled grandson who thought killing me would be his ticket to the top. All because some rich kid heard I was arrogant and decided to play assassin. I'm sitting in a bouncing carriage heading to my own baronial ceremony, magically exhausted, mourning 12 dead soldiers, and the 2 most powerful families in the Empire are about to go to political war over whether I should be alive or dead. Rascana, buddy, you didn't pull a nail. You kicked a hornet nest. And the hornets have hornets. So the assassination attempt on me triggered a chain reaction that went all the way to the top. And I mean the top. Here's what I pieced together later. Rascana, the Cosimo brat who ordered my hit, was confessing to Grandpa Lorenzo through a magic crystal ball. He laid out every hired killer. The two Badal brothers sourced through a weapons dealer and 2 degrees of separation. A church defector hidden in Cosimo territory who went solo to peg. A Hashishin assassin drawn by a southern noble's bounty. That noble conveniently committed suicide afterward. Plus some small-time Twant City nobles who sent their own guys independently. Rascana finished his report looking proud of his untraceable network. Lorenzo's response? You got played, boy. The old duke saw what his genius grandson couldn't. Someone else gathered all these scattered groups together and orchestrated them into a coordinated attack. And the real goal wasn't killing me. It was triggering war between the Mulan and Cosimo families. Or bigger, creating chaos across the entire empire. Whether I lived or died was irrelevant to the puppet master. They just needed the explosion. Rascana's brain visibly short-circuited. 20-something years of elite education, and he'd been used as a tool without knowing it. Lorenzo sent him to hide with his personal head butler using a code phrase, Red Sea, the rose never dies, and warned him that Badal hitmen or Hashishin killers were probably already waiting for him. Even the old man's grandson is now a target. Then Lorenzo did something nobody expected. He got in his carriage with minimal escort and drove across Rosa City to Dad's house. The head of the Cosimo family visiting the head of the Mulan family. 2 leaders of rival golden families sitting across from each other in Dad's gaudy garden castle. Outside, their knights were making awkward small talk. Lorenzo's man Strolro and Dad's Shadow Hawk sitting in a garden hallway, chatting about nothing. Their butlers, Lorenzo's Zenobi and Skin's father Dion, standing in complete silence outside the meeting room. Professional butler standoff. 0 words exchanged. Inside, pure political theater at the highest level. Lorenzo opened. I assume you've also noticed the conspiracy behind all this. Dad. What conspiracy? All I know is my son almost died. Cold. Dad wasn't giving an inch. Lorenzo explained his theory. Someone wanted both families fighting. Wanted imperial chaos. Dad fired back. My top suspect is you, staging the whole thing. If it's not you, then it's the Cis Empire, Saxon, or Rampa from outside. From inside, the usual suspects. Most likely, the Bodman royal family. Then Dad actually engaged, either the crown or someone we've all been habitually overlooking. Lorenzo nodded. Agreed. Compensation? Lorenzo asked. Old man, you and I can be enemies or friends. But me and your grandson? We're nothing to each other. Translation, I'll deal with you as an equal. Your kid? He's beneath me. Lorenzo offered a deal. From now on, the young ones sorted out themselves. Cosimo family stays out. And I suggest you focus on whoever's pulling strings behind this instead. Dad smirked. Sure. But some things I've already set in motion. Meaning, the Hashishin are already targeting your family head. Oops. Already happened. Can't unring that bell. Lorenzo didn't flinch. The Cosimo family has capable young people too. Dad leaned in. Old man, listen to me. You're old. Stop working so hard. Enjoy life. This world belongs to the young now, Lorenzo, and I'll give you advice. Gamblers always lose eventually. And the last one standing isn't always the youngest. 2 old predators, circling each other over tea in a castle. One just admitted his grandson tried to murder the other's son. The other already sent assassins after the first family patriarch. And they sat there exchanging philosophical life advice like retired professors. This is what power looks like at the very top. No screaming. No threats. Just 2 ancient sharks acknowledging each other's teeth while quietly calculating the next 10 moves. And somewhere in the background, someone neither of them can identify is pulling strings, trying to burn the whole empire down. My little assassination attempt in a snowy backwater town? It was never about me. I was just the match. The real fire was always meant for the empire itself. I'm 20 years old, riding to my Baron's ceremony, and I've accidentally become a piece on a continental chessboard where golden families and imperial princes are the players. Cool. Totally manageable. Not terrifying at all. We crossed a mountain range and went from winter apocalypse to clear skies in 2 hours. Mountains are nature's weather switches. 15 days since the assassination. Dad's reinforcements caught up. Knights from Eagle Territory and the capital. Nearly 300 riders in my convoy now. I went from frontier lord with a carriage to small army on the move. 5 days to the ceremony. 3 days of riding needed. We're fine on time. I looked out the window as we passed Red Maple Town. The tavern where I, accidentally, met Oleg and Dina all those months ago. Was it really accidental? Does it matter anymore? No, it doesn't. Something changed in me during that walk in the snow back in Lena. That existential crisis wasn't just philosophical navel-gazing. It was the moment I stopped being a nice guy with big dreams and started being something colder. Kings are heartless. That's what I concluded. If I'm climbing toward a throne, I need to cut away the sentimentality. Use everything. Sacrifice anything, including myself if necessary. The idealistic kid from another world who wanted equality and justice? He's still in here, but he's sitting in the back seat now. The driver is someone who watches 12 soldiers die and converts grief into strategy. Meanwhile, old man Lorenzo was playing his own masterpiece. The Hashishin came for his grandson Raskana, and the blood rose showed why he survived at the top for decades. Layer 1. Lockdown Rose Fortress. Troops everywhere. Martial law. 200 longbowmen, 600 pikemen, and the White Rose Knight Order inside the castle. Obvious defensive posture. Layer 2. The decoy. A fake Raskana sitting in the fortress while the real one slipped out disguised as a spice merchant's laborer. Shoveling horse manure. Hauling cargo. Sleeping in shacks with other workers. The grandson of a duke, hands covered in filth, being yelled at by a merchant for being too slow. The old butler's only instruction. Act normal. Be natural. Layer 3. Chaos. Dozens of decoy targets sent out simultaneously in every direction. To Uffizi, Badati, the desert, the Royal Territories, Golden Pillar Province, the capital, Orlando Province, even one headed to Moonlight Fortress. A massive web of false trails that would take weeks to untangle. The Hashishin's strength is tracking, finding the thread, pulling it, killing the target. But when there are 50 threads going in 50 directions and the real target is literally knee-deep in horse dung somewhere on a random trade road, the assassins become just killers. And killers without a target are useless. A wandering knight joined the merchant caravan along the way, paid 20 silver to travel with them. When bandits demanded 2 gold coins at a forest crossing, this knight charged out on his skinny pack horse, announced the knight's code, and challenged 13 robbers to stand down. They cut his leg off and left him in the road. He froze to death that night. Animals ate the rest. The merchant paid the 2 gold, grumbled about the loss, and moved on. Nobody remembered the knight by morning. He died for principles in a world that runs on gold. Nobody cared. Nobody even learned his name. Raskana watched the whole thing. Said nothing. Did nothing. Stayed in character. A duke's grandson watching a man die for honor while he hides behind a fake identity, shoveling manure to stay alive. This world eats idealists for breakfast. I should know. I almost was one. The merchant caravan reached the Crickle Plains safely, which meant Raskana was out. The Hashishin had lost the trail. So they did the only thing left. They stormed Rose Fortress. 8 Hashishin elders, the last true believers in the old code, plus their most promising young member attacked the castle head-on. They killed the fake Raskana in his sealed room. And all 8 elders died doing it. The devoted master, Father Listoro, was now in Rhine City. My city. He'd already relocated. And he was thinking about the future. Every old guard Hashishin who truly believed in the creed was now dead. He was the last remnant of the original organization. If he died too, what would Hashishin become? Would it survive? Would new leadership take it somewhere different? Then his mind settled on an image. A young man, different from everyone else he'd met. And he'd made a decision to come here, to Moonlight Fortress. Whether it was right or wrong, he didn't know. But he'd come. The leader of the Hashishin assassination network just moved into MY territory. Voluntarily. After his entire old guard killed themselves attacking the Cosimo family on a contract that my father arranged. Dad redirected the Hashishin against the Cosimos. The Cosimos used the attack to eliminate the Hashishin's leadership, and the Hashishin's surviving master relocated to MY City because he saw something in me. I'm riding to my Baron ceremony while the continent's entire shadow war restructures itself around my existence. Every faction is either trying to kill me, protect me, or join me. And I'm sitting in my carriage thinking one cold thought. Kings are heartless. I'm 20 years old. I used to want everyone to eat enough and live with dignity. I still do. But now I understand the price. You want to change the world? First, become the kind of person the world can't ignore. Then become the kind of person the world can't stop. Then become the kind of person the world fears. Then, and only then, can you make it better. Step 1, Baron ceremony. Step 2, build an army. Step 3, everything else. Let's go. Rascana's escape ended in the most ridiculous way possible. The Duke's grandson spent weeks shoveling horse manure, sleeping in shacks, and being yelled at by a spice merchant. And then a fancy carriage rolled up at the Rosa City docks. An elderly servant bowed to the filthiest laborer in the group and said, "Young master, the Duke sent me to collect you." The spice merchant watched his worst employee get picked up like royalty and probably had the most confusing moment of his entire career. That useless kid he'd been smacking around was the grandson of a duke. Life comes at you fast, but that was 3 days before I noticed. Let me rewind. Night 1 back in Rosa City. Dad and I talked until dawn. I told him everything. Herda, Rhine City, the knights, the forging, the assassination, the magic I used. Dad listened quietly, watching me with an expression I couldn't fully read. At one point I think he missed Mom. His eyes went somewhere else for a second. Then he snapped back and told me his side. The Hashishins' leader relocated to Rhine City. My city. Dad called it a gift. I said, "What's yours is mine. What's mine is the family's. The more the merrier." Dad looked at me, proud and sad at the same time. He doesn't want me in the power game, but he's also terrified I'd be too soft to survive without him. Classic parental contradiction. I want you safe versus I need you strong. But that night, he just wanted to be a regular father. No politics, no strategy, just a dad listening to his kid talk about his adventures. I appreciate that more than any gold or army he could give me. I slept until noon the next day. First time in months, I didn't wake up to Barbara trying to crawl into my bed or Eileen lecturing me about morning sunlight. Blissful silence. I walked to the balcony, stretched, and looked at the garden. The same gardener trimming the same bushes. Same maids bustling around. Same guard standing post. 9 months away, and nothing changed here. But I changed. I used to be a carriage rolling down the road with no destination. Now I have one. Every detour, every stop, I'm still heading toward it. Then I got bored and called Skin. Poor guy came running because his father had been testing him nonstop since we arrived. Dion, Skin's dad's head butler, is apparently a legendary figure. Let me tell you the Yura family story. 70 years ago, Skin's great-grandfather was a horse handler in Long River Town. 2 pack horses. That's the entire family fortune. He sent one son, Baron, to the Eagle Territory Cavalry Corps. Baron awakened as a knight. Got his own knight's domain by 50. His son Dion became friends with a boy named Wright in the Mulan family castle. 30 years later, 5 knights in the family, 3 knight domains, dozens of businesses, and Dion's name is known to every major noble in the empire. Skin's 4 sisters married barons and knights. His brother works at the Imperial Finance Department. And Skin? He's being groomed as Dion's successor, the next generation's butler who is basically a noble. I told Skin, "Your dad means well, but you're my friend first. Now stop moping and take me shopping. Bring lots of gold. We're going to the South Quarter. The outer city South Quarter is basically the Empire's Amazon warehouse district. 10,000 people working the docks on the West Willow River. Thousands of trading houses. Ships and wagons flowing in and out like blood through veins. You can buy anything here, including people, if you know where to look." We took the carriage toward Victory Gate, a massive red stone arch on the river island, built 500 years ago when the Empire's armies marched through to celebrate their founding. Now it's a tourist attraction and the checkpoint between inner and outer city. You need a pass. There's a time limit. Medieval traffic control. Surprisingly effective. December 1st, Imperial Year 497. My carriage was heading south through Victory Gate. Another carriage was heading north. One had the wolf crest of the Mulan family. The other had a blazing rose, the Cosimo emblem. I don't know why, But something made me pull my curtain open at the exact same moment the person in the other carriage pulled theirs. And there he was, Rascana Cosimo, the guy who ordered my assassination. Clean, dressed up, riding in a fancy carriage like he hadn't just spent weeks disguised as a manure-shoveling laborer. Our eyes met. I looked at the man who tried to kill me. He looked at the man who survived. 2 carriages, 2 families, 500 years of history, passing each other under an arch built to celebrate victory. The universe has a sense of drama. I'll give it that. No words were exchanged. Just a look. But in that look was everything. The 12 dead soldiers, the frozen assassins, the purple moon slash, the Hashishin elders burning in Rose Fortress, Dad, and Lorenzo trading threats over tea, an imperial prince delivering messages, and a teenage orphan reclaiming his barony. All because this pretty boy thought I was an easy target. Our carriages passed. The moment ended. But we both know, this story is far from over. Flame Rose meets Crimson Wolf. Round 1 was mine. Let's see who wins the war. South bank of the Westwillow River. Winter in Rosa City. Ships from the south still rolling in because the southern Odderlow River never freezes. The northern Gavillow River? Frozen solid. Which is why a cluster of obviously northern merchants were standing on the dock complaining about everything. Look at these boats. If the north had year-round shipping, my profits would double. Tell me about it. I rode light from Tuan City and nearly died. Full merchant convoy in winter. Guard fees double, driver fees double, feed costs triple, and if someone dies you're paying compensation. By the time goods reach the capital, you can't price them low enough to beat southern merchants. I say we just stay home and make more babies. Kofi said we're here for big business. Long-term vision. Stop staring at scraps when a big shot is paving the road for you. I heard this lord is famously generous. Yeah, well, generous to US doesn't mean he tolerates disrespect. Before you open your mouth, remember the weight of the word Milan. That shut everyone up real quick. Kofi had assembled this crew on my orders. I'd written him a letter saying, bring some useful business friends. What I got was 17 merchants. 12 already here, 5 more incoming. Kofi either misunderstood some or wanted to impress me. Either way, over-delivered. These guys share a profile. Small fish in the Imperial Ocean, but absolute sharks in their local ponds. Each one dominates 1 or 2 product categories in their region. Scale that down to a single province or city. They're monopolists. Put them together under one umbrella? That's a trade network spanning half the empire. My Wolfcrest carriage pulled up at the riverbank. Skin helped me down. Old Belair was driving, as always. Oh, Belair. My mysterious coachman. After Lena, where he pulled a knight's sword out of nowhere and stood between me and a potential Saint Knight. Everyone knows he's not just a driver. But he won't tell anyone anything. Some young knight even wanted to challenge him to a duel to test his strength. That got shut down fast. I asked Dad about him that first night back. Dad's answer. If you actually build another Eagle territory someday, Belair will become the real Belair. What does that mean? Is he a sealed legendary knight? A guardian spirit? A retired Saint Knight? Dad won't elaborate, and Belair just smiles and drives the horses. I've given up asking. I treat him the same as always, like a person, not a mystery, because that's just how I am. And apparently that's my superpower in this world. Not magic, not my pocket dimension, not my potion brewing. It's the fact that I treat people like people. I don't do it on purpose. It's just how I was raised. In my previous life, where servants aren't property and butlers aren't subhuman. But in a world where nobles literally own people, a top-tier aristocrat who says, good morning, to his coachman the same way he greets a duke is revolutionary. Nobody's told me this is unusual because nobody thinks to mention it. They just feel it. Skin feels it. Barbara and Eileen feel it. Arsa felt it hard enough to pledge his life. Alvin, Elvis, Ian, Elena, the Betel Warriors, Oleg, every single person around me gravitates toward this one invisible quality. Back in my old world, we had a saying, sincerity is the ultimate cheat code. And another one, a warrior dies for the one who truly knows him. Cheesy? Yes. True. Absolutely. Kofi. Long time no see. Everyone, welcome to the capital. Thanks for making the journey. The merchants beamed. Compliments poured out of them like someone uncorked a barrel of flattery. Every nice thing they'd saved up for a lifetime got deployed at once. Some were genuinely moved by meeting me. Others were calculating whether my friendliness was a manipulation tactic. Doesn't matter. We're all here to make money. Kofi started introductions. Garland, biggest iron ore merchant in Tuan City. My previous mineral and tool shipments came through him. Zorber supplies 80% of all grain, furs, and timber to Count Krebs's territory. Jalev runs 30 small freight convoys between the Is and Golden Pillar provinces. Logistics guy. Meshek, specialist in medicinal herbs and seeds from Kao province. My kind of supplier. Abe owns 5 large cargo ships running routes to Betel Island. Naval assets. Natcher runs half the slaves and gladiator arenas in Boulder City, Colin province. Ethically questionable, strategically useful. And then, this is Sini. Her family are famous weapons dealers from Torlin province. One woman among a dozen burly northern merchants. I greeted her with extra courtesy because manners. Oh, hello, Miss Sini. The guys all laughed. Sini didn't blush or act shy. She looked me dead in the eye and said, Lord Hades, are you hiring maids by any chance? I turned so fast back to Kofi that I nearly pulled a muscle. Continue, Kofi. The merchants howled. Sini looked pleased with herself. This woman just flirted with a baron in front of 12 businessmen at a public dock, and I retreated like a cavalry unit facing a dragon. Barbara would destroy her. Or recruit her. Honestly, could go either way. 17 merchants. Iron, grain, timber, herbs, ships, freight, weapons, slaves, and one woman who shoots first and asks questions never. My commercial empire is taking shape, and it hasn't even had its first meeting yet. Let's go shopping, friends. You're in the capital. You have to see the South Quarter. The outer South Quarter, though. The inner one is too expensive. Even I can't afford that place. Everyone laughed. Good. Relaxed merchants make better business partners than nervous ones. We loaded into carriages. Mine with the wolf crest. There's rented from local carriage services. Rosa City has an entire industry around rental carriages because most visitors don't drag their own wagons across the empire. You rent the carriage from one shop, hire a driver from the shop next door. Medieval Uber. Very efficient. We rolled through the outer South Quarter, and I gave everyone the tourist experience. Trading houses everywhere. Cargo wagons and pack horses clogging every road. Merchants arguing on corners. Workers hauling goods shirtless in winter. Slaves being whipped by overseers. The full spectrum of imperial commerce, from glamorous to grim, in one district. Half an hour later, we stopped on a street called Tyler Street. Time for the real talk. Fun fact, I said, because I can't help being a nerd. This street was originally called Tile Street. Because tiles. The merchants here got embarrassed and changed it to a fancier sounding name. Rebranding. Very sophisticated. Ship Captain Abe laughed. Even the capital named streets like we do back home. I explained how most place names on the continent started as geographic descriptions. Abe's hometown Reefport, named after a big rock on the shore. Natcher's Boulder City, built on a mountain that looks like a stone growing from the ground. Riveting historical trivia that I deployed purely to establish intellectual dominance. Then I dropped the punchline. I didn't explain the name to show off my knowledge. I explained it because this street is mine and I don't want people saying my property has a lame name. The 4 guys from Golden Pillar province, Kofi, Garland, Zorber, and Wom, simultaneously gave me a thumbs up and said something in thick northern dialect that Sini from Torlin province definitely didn't understand. She copied the thumbs up anyway. Good instincts. Business time. Let me be real. None of you have permanent operations in the capital. That's why you're here. Kofi's reputation alone wouldn't have brought you. Opportunity did. Nobody argued. Smart crowd. Tyler Street has 23 shops and 16 warehouses. In the whole outer South Quarter, there are over 100 streets like this. Half are owned by nobles. The other half get fought over by merchants from across the empire and foreign countries. By the time regular merchants get access, there are maybe a few dozen streets left. 1,000-ish shops. Distributed top-down. Big guys eat first. If you can't get a shop, you sell under someone else's name, lose margins, and kiss boots. Most of you are stuck in your local markets. Even if your goods are better and cheaper, because you can't break into the capital. Everyone nodded. This was their life I was describing. My street is different. 3 options. Option 1, rent. Monthly fee. I handle your imperial trade license. Whatever you earn or lose is your business. I don't interfere. One condition, join my United Trading Association. A merchant interrupted. Lord Hades, forgive me, but these terms are too good. What do you get? We merchants live by profit. I don't believe in free lunches. Great question. That's the condition. The association. I'll explain in a moment. Option 2, buy. I'll auction the shops among you 17. But the winning bid isn't just about price. I'll factor in other things. Pay in gold or goods. Once it's yours, it's yours. Do whatever you want with it. 2 conditions. Join the association, and you can't resell to non-members. Option 3. Free use. Complete my conditions, and you get first pick of any shop or warehouse. I'll also help you establish trade routes and networks. Conditions. Join the association and become a direct subsidiary. Everyone clear? Blank stares. 17 merchants who've negotiated deals their entire lives looking at me like I just spoke Elvish. Now, the United Trading Association. Founded by Moonlight Fortress. Open to merchants of any size. Non-mandatory commercial alliance. Here's what it does. Rule 1. Members supply each other first. Rule 2. Members share trade routes and commercial networks built by the organization. Rule 3. All member trade activities receive military protection from Moonlight Fortress. Rule 4. Members can leave freely. But once you're out, you're out. No coming back. Rule 5. The association president rotates among member representatives. Everyone has internal oversight rights. Got it? Long silence. Not really, Lord Hades. Could you explain it again? I stared at 17 successful businessmen who couldn't grasp a trade union concept. In my old world, this is literally just a chamber of commerce with a loyalty clause. Here, apparently, it's advanced alien technology. Deep breath. Okay, from the top, I basically just invented organized commerce in a medieval economy. Shared supply chains, protected trade routes, rotating leadership, internal oversight, member-first policies, anti-resale clauses to prevent hostile takeover. In my previous life, this would be a PowerPoint presentation at a business conference. Here, it's revolutionary enough to make experienced merchants' brains buffer. 23 shops, 16 warehouses, 17 merchants, 1 street with a stupid name that I now own. This is how empires are really built. Not with swords and speeches. With supply chains and real estate. The swords are just there to make sure nobody steals the supply chains. So there I was, there I was sitting in Dad's mansion in full formal wear, looking like a decorated cake, miserable. Because Dad signed me up for a matchmaking banquet. I'm 20. I should be enjoying my youth. I don't want to get married. Even if I did, it should be my choice. Free will. Personal autonomy. Those girls are children. How can I possibly? They're the empire's precious flowers. Pampered princesses. I'm not worthy. Barbara and Eileen were watching from the side, adding fuel to the fire with maximum enjoyment. Skin was standing behind me, mouth twitching, desperately trying not to laugh. Then Skin, my butler, my childhood friend, my supposed ally, betrayed me. Sir, the Count didn't force you. You said, and I quote, if the gold is right, I'll do anything. Whose side are you on, Skin? It's just 1 street, 300,000 gold. 100 cavalry, 500 northern horses, 5 wagons of medicine, 20 ancient texts, 1 earth-tier combat art, 2 breathing techniques. I listed everything Dad offered like it was nothing. You think I care about that? I have a territory. Have you seen how big Moonlight Fortress is on the new map? Yes, you're absolutely right, sir. When does the banquet start? Again, 10 o'clock. Got it. Then I redirected my rage at Barbara and Eileen, who were clearly enjoying this too much. You too. Stop sitting around the house. Go shopping. Buy whatever you want. I'm paying. Following me and wearing the same outfit every day. Embarrassing. Watch your wallet, little man. We're going to empty it. Barbara grabbed Eileen and stormed out in a theatrical huff. The second they left, my brave face collapsed. My head hurts. Skin. Where's my big brother? Haven't seen Lewin since I got back. I heard he went to the border. Should be back soon. I miss him. Lewin always has cool stuff from his military adventures. Wonder what treasures he's picked up this time. What I didn't know was that while I was agonizing over dinner party seating, Big Brother Lewin was doing something considerably more intense. Booty's Fortress, Western Border, Raya Province. The war horns were blowing. 600 Sark cavalry appeared in the valley west of the fortress. Sark riders are basically the continent's version of Mongol horse archers. Yellow leather armor, feathered helmets, longbows, short spears, curved swords, mounted on dark sea grassland horses. There's a saying, if Sark cavalry number over 1,000, your only option is to run. These guys are born on horseback. Literally live on horses. Hunt with bows from childhood. Fight using hit-and-run guerrilla tactics that make heavy cavalry useless. You charge them, they scatter. You chase them, they circle and shoot you full of arrows. You stop chasing, they come back and taunt you. It's been happening all year. The Cis Empire hires them as unaffiliated mercenaries, so they can deny involvement while Sark raiders bleed our border garrisons dry. Previous attempts to fight back failed miserably. Send cavalry out? Sarks retreat into the valley. Chase further? They harass you to death. So the garrison stopped responding and just watched from the walls while the Sarks killed their scouts, then rode up to screaming distance to insult them before leaving. Humiliating. Infuriating. Effective. But this time the Sarks didn't know who was inside that fortress. Wen, my big brother, imperial military advisor, who brought 2 cavalry battalions to Booties in secret. 200 knights pulled from multiple imperial legions. 2,000 of the 1st Cavalry Regiment's absolute elite, plus 2 ambush forces of 500 riders each, hidden in the wilderness for 3 days on either side of the valley. The Sarks sent scouts beforehand, standard procedure. But if those scouts had ridden 1 more mile in either direction, they would have found 1,000 cavalry hiding under tarps in the snow. They didn't. Bad luck. Fatal oversight. The Sarks did their usual routine. Killed the outer sentries, surrounded the fortress, started their taunting performance. Business as usual. Then the fortress gates opened. Chains rattling. Doors swinging wide. And out charged a cavalry unit led by someone who was very much not a scared garrison commander. At the same time, both ends of the valley heard the thunder of 1,000 hooves each, closing in like the jaws of a trap. 600 Sark riders. 3,000 imperial troops. Valley sealed north and south. Fortress charging from the east. Big brother doesn't do proportional response either. Must be genetic. I'm getting dressed for a dating event and my brother is orchestrating a military massacre. The Mulan family, everybody. One son builds trade empires and freezes assassins. The other one ambushes entire cavalry armies. Dad must be so proud. Of Wen. Me? Dad's proud that I agreed to attend a dinner party for 300,000 gold. Different kind of victory, but a victory nonetheless. I heard about this later from military reports, and honestly, my big brother is terrifying. So the trap snapped shut on 600 Sark cavalry in the valley. Perfect ambush. 1,000 riders behind them. 1,000 heavy cavalry blocking the valley exit. When charging out the fortress with another 1,000. 3-1. Should have been a clean wipe. Except Sark cavalry didn't get their reputation by being stupid. Their commander, a guy named Jones, figured out the situation in about 10 seconds. Rear blocked. Valley blocked. 3,000 Imperials closing in. His response? Split. He sent his deputy Hewley north with 150 riders as a decoy, telling them to circle around and raid into Imperial territory. Total lie. He just needed them to pull pursuers away from his escape route south. Wen saw the split and made his call instantly. Sent the 200 borrowed knights north to chase Hewley's group. Can't risk Sark raiders loose inside the Empire. Took 750 light cavalry south after Jones's main force of 450. Sent messengers back ordering the valley force to hold position in no matter what, and the fortress garrison to stay put. Then the knight commander suggested maybe he should lead the southern pursuit, and Wen should take the safer northern route. Wen shut that down cold. I'm the commander. Follow orders. For the Empire. For the Empire. And off they went. Here's the thing about Wen's plan that was either genius or crazy. He deliberately separated himself from the Knight Corps. Why? Because Jones would never stop running if he saw 200 knights coming. But 750 light cavalry with a lone young commander? That looks like prey. That looks like something worth turning around to fight. And that's exactly what Jones did. Jones calculated perfectly. The Imperial commander split his forces like an amateur. Must be a green noble playing soldier or some kid, getting experience. If Jones could crush this group fast, he'd break the encirclement and escape south around the mountain range. So 450 Sark riders turned their horses around, faced north, drew weapons, ready for a head-on charge. No guerrilla tactics, no hit and run. Straight cavalry battle. Sark pride versus Imperial steel. 500 against 750. Both sides wanting to devour the other. Luen drew his knight's sword. Battle aura erupted off him, blowing dust from his armor, blowing fear from his soldiers' hearts. Veins bulging in his neck, he screamed. Charge! Jones raised his curved blade and roared in the Sark tongue. Warriors of the plains. Kill! 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 The ground shook. Two formations went from columns to broad lines. At 500 meters apart, everything became momentum and murder. Imperial front ranks carried lances, grip loose with the lead hand, tight with the back, thrust on contact. They punched into the scattered Sark formation and immediately got swarmed. Curved swords came from every angle. Lance riders dropped. Then the saber cavalry crashed in behind them, and the whole thing dissolved into a meat grinder. What followed was pure hell. In the dark, on a freezing plain, a Sark rider slashed an Imperial cavalryman's neck. Blade caught the collar lining, bit into flesh, dragged a red arc through the air. The Imperial fell sideways, still gripping his lance, dragging a dead Sark he'd already skewered down with him. The Sark who'd made the kill turned looking for another target and found a blood-soaked knight's sword already at his eyeballs. Half his skull came off. His body flew backward. His last sight was bloody sky. Riderless horses stood over their dead masters, nudging corpses. Others bolted screaming into the darkness. The ground was invisible under the night, but everyone knew what it looked like. Severed limbs, shattered bodies, rivers of blood. Nobody retreated. Nobody considered it. Both sides had gone full berserker. Kill or die. No third option. My brother is out there somewhere in that chaos. A knight leading light cavalry against the continent's deadliest horsemen in pitch blackness. Meanwhile, I'm in Dad's mansion arguing about whether I have to attend a dinner party. The Milan family skill tree has two branches. Luen got legendary warrior commander. I got angry about matchmaking. Both valid. Both important. One is significantly more likely to get you killed, and it's not the dinner party. Probably. Count Bisser's mansion. Lit up like a Christmas tree. Fancy teenagers everywhere, sipping wine from crystal glasses, pretending to be adults. The Empire's most eligible young nobles gathered in one room for what is essentially a medieval prom. And I had to attend, because Dad bribed me. One street in the capital, 300,000 gold, 100 cavalry, 500 Northern War horses, 5 wagons of medicine, 20 ancient texts, an earth-tier combat art, and 2 breathing techniques. All for attending one dinner party. I accepted because I'm a businessman, not because I have dignity. Before I could leave, my old buddy Onlon showed up outside the mansion and tackled me with a bear hug. 200 pounds of aristocratic meat burying his face in my chest, sobbing. 9 months apart, and the first thing this man does is cry on my clothes. His sob story. After I left the capital, his father Baron Fedras grounded him permanently, enrolled him in the Royal Academy's advanced course, and made him study imperial finance. Onlon, the guy who spent years eating, drinking, and gambling with me, was now taking accounting classes. His father blamed me for his son's wasted youth, but only privately, because nobody openly badmouthed the kid whose dad is Count Wright. Nearly a year of finance studies. Progress? 0. His father tried banning him from seeing me, then heard I was becoming a landed baron and did a complete U-turn. Go find your friend. Be nice to him, parents. So predictable. I slapped him back to sanity and got him in my carriage. Time for some intel gathering. Onlon, quick questions. Any changes with the Cosimo family lately? Oh, a young guy showed up at their mansion a few days ago. Handsome. Couple years older than me. Rascana. Made it to the capital. Interesting. What about the second army stationed outside the city? No idea about that, but I overheard my dad talking to some southern guy. Apparently the Cis Empire is busy crushing Volan Kingdom remnants and using Sark raiders as a distraction on our border. Something about this being a perfect chance for our empire to attack west, but it got called off for unknown reasons. I stared at this meatball. 9 months and you got smart? Does finance study do that? Excuse me. I am now a knight. Thank you very much. Show some respect. You? A knight? You awakened? I leaned out the window and pointed at Arsa. Arsa could crush you with one finger. You have a personal guard knight. No? Then shut up. Honestly, how does the goddess of fate give knight talent to a walking dumpling like you, but not to me? Life is cruel and unfair. Hades. Say that again, and I'll fight you. Ha! For one carriage ride. I got to be a normal 20-year-old again. Laughing with a friend. No territory building. No assassination plots. No empire-level conspiracies. Just two guys roasting each other. Then we arrived, and reality came crashing back. Here's my problem with this banquet. The girls. In my previous life as a modern person and current life as someone with standards, the situation is horrifying. These girls range from 12 to 16 years old. 12. In this empire, girls can legally marry at 12. They look at me with big, sparkly eyes, and I feel like a criminal. I'm actually popular with them, which makes it worse. Brown hair, blue eyes, long lashes, sharp features, tall frame, polite manners, and the Mulan family name. Apparently, that combination makes teenage noble girls lose their minds. Before I left the capital, I used to get love letters constantly. Some girls would confess I in person. I deliberately made myself look more useless to scare them off. Didn't work. Some of them found uselessness charming. When I left for Herda, I leaked a fake departure gate, so the crowd of girls who came to say goodbye went to the wrong exit. They're probably still sending letters to Herda City, which has no post office, so everything's piling up in Tuan City's mail depot. Problem solved. The thought of marrying a 12-year-old who'd be calling me husband while pregnant at 15 made my skin crawl so hard it nearly left my body. I made a mental vow. When I have enough power, I am abolishing the law that lets 12-year-olds marry. And then I'm finding whoever wrote that law and putting them on the chopping block. Even if they've been dead for centuries, I'll dig them up and yell at the skeleton. We arrived at Count Bisser's estate. England's massive coachman practically lifted him off the carriage. Then Skin gracefully helped me down. Very different energy. The estate butler spotted my wolf crest and started walking over with his best welcome smile. Then another carriage pulled up, right in front of mine, blazing rose crest. Rascana stepped out, looked at me, smiled, something between a smirk and a sneer. 100% fake. I didn't even change my expression. Not worth the facial muscles. The butler looked left, flaming rose. Looked right, crimson wolf. His brain stalled trying to figure out who to greet first. I saved him the trouble, walked myself to the door, and waved him off. Don't worry about it. Because I'm gracious like that. Also because making the butler choose between two feuding golden families would probably give the poor man a heart attack. So here I am, walking into a teenage matchmaking party with my assassination rival 10 steps behind me, my 200-pound knight buddy waddling beside me, and a grand knight shadow guarding my flank. Somewhere on the western border, my brother is leading a cavalry charge against Sark horsemen in pitch darkness. And I'm about to dodge 12-year-olds with crushes. We each fight the battles we're given. While I was getting ready for a party, my brother's battle was ending in the most brutal way possible. Dawn broke over the wasteland. The Imperial heavy cavalry finally reached the battlefield. What they found was a red swamp of corpses, blood-filled hoofprints reflecting the sky, like the world's most horrifying mirror, and the Imperial Gold Lion banner stuck in the mud with 7 or 8 survivors leaning against each other underneath it. And this is where things get really interesting. The next part is already on Patreon. Don't want to wait? Watch it right now. Link in the description and pinned comment.